Let's explode.
Oh,
We're live. Welcome to the Out There channel. Live stream 258. I said the wrong live stream number yesterday. So yeah, we're getting up to the 300 live stream, and I've got a special birthday cake for that one too. Robert's still not quite ready, but we got the intro running. So see you in a minute. What's that glitch? That's not good. Why is the sound disappearing? Because we're hitting 100%. Damn. I need a faster computer, guys.
Let's party.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, glitching. %, 100% CPU. That's terrible. Why? I don't know. Going down. It's like this one's changed the CPU booster. I had all set up. Maybe I need to check that. I don't know what Windows has done to it. Hello. Hello. Let's see if the CPU drops now. Good to be back. Hey, be civil, let's have some fun, and no hardcore swearing, misspell things if you have to. And we should be back at a desktop in a minute. Yeah, the CPU is quite high still. So how we sound in there? It was hitting 100% CPU. Are you there, Robert? You gone quiet on us? You still there? Because I can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay,
I'm not
that's
sure what
cool.
you're doing.
No,
The
I was
audio
getting double
sounds
sound there.
I don't know why. CPU's now starting to stabilize. I see Google is way behind. So what are we doing today?
Wow, I don't know. I haven't got anything, to be honest. Haha, joking. Yeah, but I was hoping to do this a little bit more conversation-wise than, using the reader so much. But, yeah, it's all good.
I hope so. Else we have a stampede of people leaving the channel. Okay, it's hard enough to bring people in as it is. 258, wasn't it? So this is Roswell. Now we've covered Roswell before, and I've talked about what the UFO actually looked like and how they got a model of it, and whether there was some secret information that someone knew about that saw part of the ship. So I did an episode on that and how it linked to Mr. Rhodes' sighting. Well, one of the craft did anyway. Arnold saw two types of craft. Was it a couple of weeks before Roswell event happened? So
yeah, okay. I know where you were basing your attempted debunk on there, but I think what you didn't take into account was what was found that Roswell was smashed into like a million pieces.
but there's two crash sites.
According to the intelligence officer Jeff Marcel, but why are you talking over me, Paul? according to him, it exploded when it was in the air because the debris was, spread over such a large area, maybe as long as a mile and maybe 1/4 to 1/2 mile wide, which means it would have had to have exploded in the air. So I don't know. There was no piece of the Roswell crash that was more than 2 feet long.
Yeah.
So
But my
I'm not sure how you.
My life was looking at the model and how they said that was the design of it, a crescent shape. And of course, then we found that Rhodes photograph, and I think they based it on that because it was so close to Arnold's sighting that they assumed that was one of the same craft that Arnold saw. Because Arnold was taking an interest in the Rhodes photograph after his event and said it was similar to his, if I remember right. But
I don't think this has any real connection to Roswell. Of course, there was supposedly a second crash site, wasn't there? Because it did seem that the shell of the craft came off in the initial explosion, which was 75 miles northwest of Roswell, by the way,
right.
and it skipped and travelled on another 75, 80 miles, and then came down a little bit closer to the base itself. So it's all a bit perplexing, especially when you consider that the second crash site, far less people seen that, and there was no good descriptions of what the craft looked like.
Yeah,
so
that's
how
what
you
my
can
life
base
was
it
about.
on other, how you can base it on events, I have no idea.
How's the audio sound there out in Google? I think we've got a wee bit more of a delay than we usually have here. So let us know if it's crackling or he's fading out on Jitsi or anything crazy that's going on today. Yeah, I did actually 3 episodes on it, looking at whether it could be the exotic materials that they were mucking around with in the crash. Whether it was a black ops thing gone wrong, black ops craft from Area 51. I did one on the connection between Rhodes and Arnold's sighting and whether that was linked to Roswell crash, was the same, one of the similar craft. And what was the other one I did? On the doctor and the bodies. And I think I did that one with you, didn't I? Where we were talking about Randall report on it all. I think you were with me.
I'm not sure. But, Paul.
Yeah, people out there probably remember because you don't always watch my stuff, but I'm pretty sure you were with me on that one at that stage, so you had to watch it. Okay. I think you may have jumped on one of my live thing to talk about the alien bodies. But anyway, I think it's a playlist on it somewhere, and this one will end up in it, I guess, as well. So you can find it in there. I think it's got about 3 or 4 episodes. But yeah, so we're talking about the witnesses. You said you wanted people to come on and talk, didn't you, at one stage about it?
Well, yeah, for sure. Just to try and get.
But we're not using the right Jitsi if you want to open lines here. But yeah, maybe do a presentation first and then take questions on the side, maybe. I don't think there was any.
Well, I mean, Roswell is like a monster of a case to try and tackle. You see, so that all I was going to look at today was the 2 main witnesses. I should say the highest ranking witnesses.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, neither person made a penny from this, but I don't know. Can we trust their statements? We'll see.
So Roswell's in New Mexico, and everybody probably watching this will know whereabouts it is. right about there. The other side of USA when it starts getting hot. And it's surrounded by Air Force bases and mountain ranges all around, as you can see.
Well, at the time, White Sands, the testing area there, that's most important to the case because they were testing the V2.
Yeah.
Well, no, what developed from the V2 there. You know, Werner von Braun and, you know, all the other paperclip scientists, together with the American ones, who are all working on stuff there. So
Yeah.
it's possible that something did land in Roswell from there. It's the most logical explanation, to be honest. But it doesn't matter how you look at it. Nothing adds up. Nothing adds
Walker
up.
Air Force Base. Oh, shame we can't just click on a little button say list all the Air Force bases around Roswell, because that would be a really good indicator to see how many is surrounded around it.
Yeah, it was White Sands, the proving ground at one time. Now I think it's called the testing ground now. So White Sands, it's still up and running as far as I'm concerned. I don't know.
Well, there's Walker Air Force Base. I'm not sure what that one is. Then you got White Sands.
That's not the same one.
White Sands. New Mexico.
Yeah, you see, the trouble is here, Paul. They changed the name of Roswell. I think they changed it to Walker. You know.
To what?
To Walker. So what you're looking at is Roswell there, but you're using an outdated map.
They call Roswell Walker now, because that probably makes sense for Walker Air Force Base in that case, because it's right next door. White Sands is along over the mountain range, pretty much.
Yes,
and
it is. Yeah.
Then you got Area 51, which I don't know if we can bring it
Oh,
up.
Jesus, that's in Nevada, pal.
Yeah, but you know the connections. I'm looking at the connections all around this
There's no
location.
connections. When this incident happened, there was no Area 51.
What do you call it? Pesca. What's that lake called? Pesca. None of those ones. What's that lake S4 called? My brain's not working.
Yeah, well, you're in the wrong states for a start.
But what's all the Air Force bases? Hollow Man?
Oh,
Hollow Man Air
Jesus,
Force
there's
Base?
dozens of them.
Well, I was trying to map them.
Yeah,
So
Holloman is New Mexico as well.
So that's on the way to White Sands. Why can't we put another plus sign here? They won't let me put another plus sign. Stupid Google. What's that say down there? Options. Sorry, we could not calculate. Who cares? We just want it on the map. They didn't like me adding that one. Okay, let's oh, what's going on?
What?
You're playing it on YouTube, are you? We're hitting 100%.
Damn.
Is that you
I need a
playing
fact.
that?
Good.
Let's party.
Is that
What
you
the
or
hell
me
happened there?
Is that you or me playing that?
I didn't do anything.
I didn't
And
do
now I've
anything
lost the
either.
link. Jesus, that was odd.
Hey? I don't think it was me.
No.
It sounded like it was coming through your headset. You must have had something open in the background. Yeah.
No.
I was trying to put Area 51 on the map, but Yeah.
Damn it, I can't post links now.
Ah, damn it.
Wait there. Let's see if
Close your browser down. So it's not me
hold
that's
on,
having problems, it's
hold
you.
on. I've got it back. I have no idea what happened out. No clue at all.
Look, I keep telling you about the woman in black.
Jeez.
Anyway, so you got any links to go anyway?
Yeah, I'll post this now. Well, I
This,
did actually post it there. It's different perspective,
Google's
Kevin Randall. It's just
Google.
above Charles's statement. Hi, Charles. Hi, everyone. Usual suspects.
Yeah, I just got rid of Google Maps. That was starting to pee me off too. I think they keep changing stuff, Google, and it gets worse and worse rather than better and better in some instances. And then you got new bugs to deal with. Oh, where's he gone? We've lost Rob.
It's okay, I'm here.
Oh, you turned off your picture.
Yeah, I know.
Why? Well, it doesn't matter. It saves bandwidth. Okay, so where do we want to read this? From the top?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's cut to the chase. I could have showed a lot of articles that would actually suggest that that this was 2,000,000% alien, but I thought I'd go for the most. Well, just go for it.
Okay, let's see if this still works. We got that problem there.
Yeah.
Brigadier General Arthur Exon and J. Bond Johnson.
How's the volume?
The other day I was interviewed by Whitley Strieber for his radio show/podcast about my book, Encounter in the Desert.
Sounds alright this end.
I mentioned the book just because I could and hope that some of you will be inspired to buy it. Anyway, during the course of the interview, we touched on the Roswell UFO crash case, and he mentioned Brigadier General Arthur Exon, who had become one of the important witnesses in the case. He said that Exon was a witness that Stan Friedman had found, but I said, no, I had discovered Exon, this is.
Exon, I thought was a petrol company.
No, the guy Arthur Exon, he was Brigadier General. But you see, the thing is here now you can see that there's a little fight going on between Stanton Friedman and Ken Randall.
I'll just flip
and you
the
can
whole
see
lot.
it. You can see it in the. No, don't do it all, Paul. In one
I'll
go.
just pause. Just say pause it when you want me to stop. That's all.
Okay.
Is that rest? Where's the page end here though? Oh, right there. Okay. And just say pause.
BG Arthur Exon, something that has happened before. Friedman getting credit for something he hadn't done, and yes, I can provide other examples. Naturally, he asked how I had learned of Exon, and I explained that J. Bond Johnson had mentioned the name to me, and I had tracked him down, calling him in 1990. But that got me to thinking about all this, and I went back to my notes and files about the interviews with Exon. For those who don't know, I had called him, but rather than mention Roswell, I said that I was interested in tracking some of the information about ATIC and Project Blue Book, retrieval operations or 4 separate incidents, figuring that once we got into the topic of UFOs, we could expand from that. After we had discussed those incidents, which had nothing to do with Roswell, and the name of the town hadn't even been mentioned, we did finally get to the meat of the interview. Most of that isn't all that important here. I did ask him if he had heard about the rumors of little bodies, and he said, well, yes, I have. In fact, I know people that were involved in photographing some of the residue from the New Mexico affair near Roswell. And that was the first mention of Roswell in the conversation. I asked if this was from 1947, and he said, yeah. It was in the late 40s. He then said, what they had done. This fellow was in the PR business, apparently in command there at Roswell at the time of the sighting was found when the rancher reported it, and some of the people, as you obviously know, collected a good bit of the information and took it into the commander's office and took photographs. This fellow took the photographs of the residue. I'm talking about metal and stuff. I suppose you all can figure out the next question I asked. Do we know his name? Exon said, his name is Johnson. He lives here in Long Beach. Naturally, I said, I know him. James Bond Johnson. Exon said that he didn't know him all that well, but did say that he had his telephone number. I already had that as well. Yes, I know what you all are thinking, but that interview took place on May 19th, 1990, before we all learned the truth about Johnson and his ever-shifting story. At the time I knew that Johnson held a commission and was a colonel in the reserve. I hadn't really thought about this in a long time, and in 1990, I didn't realize the importance of the statement. And, to be fair, I did provide copies of the transcript to several people, including Philip Klass, Carl Pflock, Don Schmidt, and Tom Carey. One page was missing from that I had sent Klass, and I replaced it. The point is that these people, and probably a couple more, have had this information almost from the time that I collected it. Had the Air Force, during their investigation, contacted me about Roswell, I would have sent them copies of the tape. In fact, I offered copies of a number of the taped interviews to them, but they seem uninterested in them. I always thought it was because they didn't want to have to attack the reputation of a general officer. Had they taken the tapes, they would have had all this information as well. The other thing here is that Exon was right about knowing one of the photographers who took pictures of the residue. Johnson did take them, and it was from Johnson that I got Exon's name. I shared that information with Stan Friedman when we're both in Roswell to film the segment of Unsolved Mysteries that dealt with Roswell. What is the takeaway here? Exon's information about the photographer isn't startling, and in fact, is somewhat depressing. Johnson took pictures of the weather balloon debris in General Ramey's office. He didn't photograph anything of overwhelming importance. Exon provided some additional details, but the fact of the matter is that Johnson didn't photograph an alien spacecraft, and Exon's statements didn't do anything to provide additional information on this aspect of the case. But I'll bet my skeptical pals will suggest this is another reason that we should not place any emphasis on Exon's statements. This is another example of how jumbled his memories were nearly a half-century after the fact. For those who would like to buy the book, Encounter in the Desert, you can find it here. https://www.amazon.com.
Yeah, let me just skim past that.
Thanks.
Oh, that's the end of it, is
Posted
it?
by K. Randall at 1:36 p.m.
Yeah, stop it.
Oh, it's only one third of the page. There must be a lot of comments. Oh, yeah. No.
See,
There's a lot of
see what a
ads.
dodgy game. See what a dodgy game it is to rely on a high caliber, what seems to be a high caliber witness. And let's look at his position a little bit closer. Anyway, that reader seems to be better than it was before.
Well, it should be. It's Microsoft.
Oh God, that really gives me faith.
Well, it's built
Jesus.
into Windows. It should be better.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft, they shaft us when they want to, but anyway. At the moment, let's talk about Bill Gates and being the creator of the C-19 business. So, New World Order. You've probably heard all the stupid chat online about it all.
Good God, yeah, I have, yeah, I know.
He looks like an old man now too when you see him, Mr. Gates.
Well, he's probably not the youngest man, is he? I don't know how old he is now. But I've left you a link there, Paul.
Yeah, I just can't get comfortable here, unfortunately. In lots of pain. Where's the link? I haven't got the pillows right. It's been a right jumble today, again.
Charming.
I suppose got to scale it down. There you go. Okay, another page of stuff. Oh, there's not much there.
No, there's not much there.
Okay. Let's see if it's got one of those headers that pop down. Screws it all up. Okay, see, here we go.
BRIG General Arthur E. Exon on Roswell crash. BRIG General Arthur E. Exon was base commander of Wright-Patterson AFB from 1964 to 1966. Exon is the highest-ranking person in the military to come forward and state that the Roswell crash happened and that it was extraterrestrial. According to Exon, at first the military thought the debris was Russian. Upon investigation of the material, they soon realized that it was nothing that could have been produced on Earth. Exon claims that at that point a secret project was undertaken to research the material, and later on Exon claimed he learned while at the Pentagon that a group that he nicknamed the Unholy 13 were given full charge over the UFO problem. Exon also claimed that he was told there were 2 crash sites. The first one was the site found by Mac Brazil on the ranch, and it consisted mostly of just material. The second crash site the remnants of a structured craft as well as bodies. Exon was such a powerful man that the Air Force chose not to attempt to discredit him. Instead, they simply ignored him. When the Air Force began its investigation into the Roswell crash in 1994, investigators deliberately ignored Exon, would not interview him, and did not include any information concerning him in their report. This simply is not unacceptable. It's obviously clear that the Air Force feared his clout and reputation, and probably did not want the public to learn that such a powerful man was claiming that the Roswell crash was definitely extraterrestrial. In circa December 1994, congressional staff members interviewed Exon concerning his claims. Exon stated that he feared he was being monitored for coming forward with his information. The interviewers stupidly believed that the fear that one was being monitored discredited him and claimed he was paranoid. However, anyone who is unbiased should realize that the claim that one is being monitored is only absurd sounding when the person in question has no knowledge of value. A regular Joe on the streets is probably paranoid if he claims he is being monitored. A person in a high position of power who claims that the Roswell crash was extraterrestrial is not exactly being paranoid when he likewise states he fears he is being monitored. So it's sad that the staff members didn't really think that through before dismissing such a powerful man.
Yeah.
Unholy 13 doesn't sound good.
No, well, this is where the MJ12 papers were based on, I believe. Well, I don't know. He was a second-hand witness, Paul, but he was certainly in a position to know. Was he? He was the base general at Wright Pat from 1964 to 1966. And apparently could not get access to all dreams in his own building.
Right.
And he was in charge of. That's how deeply classified some of these things are. You know?
Yeah.
Can we dismiss his statement? No, I don't think we can.
Well, that it's aliens.
what he believes it was, although he didn't see it himself. Okay, so again, second-hand statement.
Did he say? Did he ever say why he believed it was aliens? What was the key points?
Absolutely, of course, yeah, because he had key workers that were working under him that told him that they were there at the crash site, and they did recover bodies and some kind of craft. Yeah, I mean, how would they know about the second crash site, for example, in so much detail?
Okay.
But yeah, there's a wow. But Thomas DeBose is probably the most interesting of them all. We'll move on to him now because he was of the same rank, Brigadier General, as Exxon, but he was actually claimed to be at the scene. Well, he was at the scene.
America seemed to have too many generals, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. So it makes you wonder if someone did a hierarchy chart of all these guys at Roswell. Did Stanton do anything like that? Who answers to who?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. I mean, that's why I put that up first. You can see that, you know, Randall and Stanton were both researchers on this particular case, and you know, Randall's kind of claiming, Stanton stole my valor. You know, he found Exxon before me, he said, but no, it was me that found him first. And, you know, what a silly argument. All we need to do is get to the bottom of the case. It's not about who's seen what first. You know, this is a game of silly Bagsy or something. Do you know? Oh, come on, man.
Sounds like competition between YouTube channels.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It does not get me down at times, you know, but there we go. It is what it is. Well, at least the statement's out there. But yeah, move on to Exxon now.
No, move away from Exxon.
Play a little bit of sorry to DeBose now. Have I left it? Okay, no problemo.
Sounds like you need a coffee. Do you drink caffeine at all?
No, I try to avoid it. It keeps me up all night, you know. There we go.
At least it's copying faster at the moment. Yeah, I see the CPU's peaking up a wee bit. I'm not sure what's happened since the update, but seems to be wanting to use more CPU. Well, that loaded up pretty quick. I've got it bypassing the VPN at the moment because I was testing out the thing, so we'll just keep it that way unless we run into problems.
Okay.
So you just want to read this chunk out? Looks like we've got some
the
links.
next link, yeah. Oh, no. You need to scroll down a bit and until you get to the bold text there, Paul.
Yep.
The darker text, yeah.
That stuff, all that. And that can't be right.
Look.
How many paragraphs down? Because it's all bold. It's got bold bits in it. What do you mean?
Okay, from the point here's some sample DeBose quotes from various interviews describing a balloon cover story. Blah blah.
Let's see. River balloon. I don't see the paragraph that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's a messy website. I know. But if you just look for the
Debunk,
darker text, well, or either that, or
here,
you can go
here are
straight
some
down.
samples. This bit here. Here are
Yeah.
more examples. There's not much there. It's only a few paragraphs.
What?
Not much there, look.
Yeah, Paul, I know that, but the interviews there.
Then we got a load of stuff, and then some videos in the way. But anyway, you want us to read that out?
Mm-hmm.
Here are some more sample Dubose quotes from various interviews describing the balloon cover story
Dubose.
and the highly secret shipment of debris, making it quite clear Weaver was again being disingenuous when it came to Dubose and the significance of his testimony. There was a host of people descending on our headquarters seeking information. From Rami, badgering him for information we didn't have. I didn't know what it was. Blanchard, base commander at Roswell, didn't know. Rami didn't know. We didn't know what the hell it was. Nobody knew. But I can tell you this, it damn sure wasn't a weather balloon. McMullen said, "Look, why don't you come up with something? Anything you can use to get the press off our back?" So we came up with this weather balloon story, which I thought was a hell of a good idea. Somebody got one and we ran it up a couple of 100 feet and dropped it to make it look like it crashed, and that's what we used. Now I imagine, privately, some people felt bad about doing things that way. But it worked. The story stuff. Interview with reporter Billy Cox, blog, Florida Today, November 24th, 91, requoted in Timothy. Good. Actually, it was a cover story, the balloon part of it. Somebody cooked up the idea as a cover story. We'll use this weather balloon. We were told this is the story that is to be given to the press, and that is it, and anything else, forget it.
That's
And
what I
McMullen,
figured out on the
if you
memo,
ever knew
remember?
him, if
Cover
he told you
story.
he wanted to run something, he goddamn sure ran it. He knew every facet of the operation. He's a busybody. He wanted to know what the hell was going on, who was pissing on the sidewalk, and all that sort of thing. McMullen told me, "You are not to discuss this. This is more than top
We got
secret.
the computer swearing now.
It's beyond that. It's within my
Yeah.
priority as Deputy to General George Kenney. And he in turn responsible to the President. This is the highest priority you can exhibit. And you will say nothing. And that's the end of it. Jesus, that's the Commander-in-Chief, and you forgot about it." Audio, directly below, quoted in Kevin Randall and Don Schmidt, UFO Crash at.
Yeah. Looks like it's reading some of the spaces either side, just which is slowing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's using the spaces on the web page as pauses, pauses between words.
I mean, I didn't notice, but take note here.
It's not too bad though. So you want to
No,
go
it's not
past?
too bad.
You want to go past the videos?
No, I'd like you to play them if you could.
You want
because
to get us
there's
in
a sound
trouble,
thing
don't
there.
you?
Oh
what's
my
that-
God,
what's
you
that
played
one
a
there?
load of stuff last night.
Yeah, but that's not media. Are these not
One is
unsolved mysteries, are they?
Yeah, listen, one of these is audio only.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know if you can boost the sound a bit because it was a bit low.
Was it? Now what's low? It looks like the volume levels are good here. Alright, some plugins don't allow you to boost the volume though.
Cover story, the balloon part of it.
Oh, that's very low.
Story that's to be
Where's
given
the
to
speaker
press,
control on it?
Yep, and anything else, forget it. And
Well, I
McMullen,
couldn't
if
find
you
one.
ever knew him, if you told
No.
him that he wanted to run something, he goddamn sure ran it.
Yeah, it's not coming up.
He knew every facet of the operation.
It just used the
His
one
Oh,
below.
He wanted to
Yeah.
know what the hell was going
Ooh.
on, who was pissing on the sidewalk and all that sort of thing.
Pissing on the
Mullen told
sidewalk.
me, you are not to discuss this, and this
There we go.
is a point of which
It's using more CPU
this
though.
is more than top secret, as he said. It's
Hey, let me
beyond
just,
that.
how do we wind it back?
It's within my priority.
What's that do?
It was a cover story.
What a crazy player.
It was a cover story. It was
Yeah, it's a
Is that
better
the
interview.
cover story. The balloon part of it is the story that's to be given to the press, and that is it, and anything else, forget it. And McMullen, if you ever knew him, if you told him that he wanted to run something, he goddamn sure ran it.
CPU's
He
peaking?
knew every facet of the operation. He's a busybody. He wanted to know what the hell was going on, who was pissing on the sidewalk, and all that sort of thing. McMullen told me, you are not to discuss this, and this is a point of which this is more than top secret, as he said. It's beyond that. It's within my priority as deputy to George Kenney, and he in turn responsible to the president. This is the highest priority you can exhibit, and you will say nothing, and that's the end of it. And Jesus, that's from the commander in chief, and you forgot about it.
Well, I think that volume level was okay.
I hope so. But, you know, the man passed away shortly, very shortly after this. What did he have to gain? A book? No. Fame?
Mm.
No, not really, you know. So this guy was there, but he's not actually claiming to see bodies, has he? He said we just don't understand what was recovered, and he knows for a fact that it went to Wreck Patterson Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Why did it go
basically,
there?
I thought it was transferred to Fort Knox.
What?
On the memo, it said Fort Knox. That's
That's Kentucky.
Yeah, that's where they transported it to, all the bodies to.
No. It was Dayton, Ohio. It was.
That's
right
not what the
back.
memo said. That's not the Rami memo said. That's definitely they definitely said the memo talked about Texas Fort Knox, wasn't it? Or something like that. Was it
you
Texas?
can make of that what you want because it's Jesus. Yeah, no, I don't know. I honestly don't remember anything about Fort Knox in that memo.
Is it Texas
I'm
or is it
not
two
even
places?
sure where I'm not even sure where you're getting that one from, you know, Paul. But I think you're way off. Fort Knox.
It's on the memo. If you
gold
get the memo from the high definition scan.
Mm-hmm. Fort Knox. No.
Well, let's get the Rami memo up again.
Why on earth would they take aliens there? Are they going to chuck them in with the gold? Okay, you find it. This is your argument, not mine.
Well, it's on the memo, and everybody has confirmed that it says Fort Knox. That the debris, if it's correct, the disc or some of the debris was taken from the disc. It said to Fort Knox. Let's see if we can get it up again. This is the high definition scan coming, and here we go. At Fort
No, that's
Knox.
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Oh, right. Yep. Okay, I got it wrong. Fort Worth, Texas. This is why I brought it up. So, if I'm correct in the analysis of the memo, and the viewing of the gathered bit connected to the disk at Fort Worth, Texas. Then it talks about part in the disk was taken away for further analysis. And then it talks about
maybe.
another place name here, taken away for analysis
Mhm.
at something Rolala, whether that's or by orders of Rolala, some general, is it? And then I can't make out the rest of it here. And then major, something major before then, whatever that sentence works out there.
Yeah, it could have been a mayor rather than the
Mayor, something
major.
mayor. Oh, right, yeah, it could be something to do with the mayor at that location. Reality CV story, which I ring stands for cover story. Or it could be by story, not too sure there, for paper. Looks like paper at the end. Could that be newspaper before it? For newspaper? That they may use weather balloon. Something more. And then sea and land services. A lot of people have confirmed that's what they read there too. Cruise. Land and sea services cruise, which sounds like a correct sentence there. And it's signed Rammy at the end here. But you can see here some letters. So the ones that confirmed was Fort Worth, Texas is correct. Disc. A lot of people have said is correct there. And this last sentence is correct. And also story is correct. So there's a lot of the experts out there, and that's what they reckon anyway. So that's what I figured out before I even looked at what the other people were saying. And it was amazing how many words I got matched up with theirs. So what's that Fort Worth then? Not Fort Knox. Oh, yeah, I got it wrong. But anyway, you know what I meant. So if we go to... What's that Fort Worth though? Why would they take debris to Fort Worth? How far away from Texas, from the location would it have been?
No, it wouldn't make sense to send it there. I think that text is a bit dodgy. You can read far too much into that.
They said it definitely says Fort Worth on it. At least 3 other experts looked at that document, including me, and we all said it was Fort Worth. But so if we go there, and let's just bring it up on thing. Texas. Wasn't it a big square building or something they have there? It's quite a big place, wasn't it, Fort Worth? Here it is here.
Yeah, I just don't see the value of it for
I've lost it
anything
now.
alien or modern technology. That's all.
Certainly a lot of highways there. Where's the big military base here, though? Why can't I see it anymore? Where's the... here we go. Fort Worth, Sioux. No. So where's the Air Force Base here? I assume that's what they mean. Fort Worth Air Force Base. Is it called Fort Worth? Air Force Base. Here we go. So it must be going to there. There's certainly a lot of land there. Lockheed Martin's there. That's probably why. That's why they took it there. Lockheed Martin's there. That makes sense. So if we
Yeah, hold
put
on.
it to Roswell now.
When was it developed? I've never heard this before.
Well, that's what it says on the memo, so we're just following what the memo says. To Roswell, New Mexico. Has it come up? Let's have a look. Is it going to do it right? There we go. It's not that far away then. It's almost in a straight line. 1 hour and 40 minutes. So they could quite easily transport it there by a C-130, right? The bodies or whatever. What did it say again? The bits is what I said. But a lot of people were arguing that can't be bits because that was like a modern term and it wasn't used back in 1947. So, yeah, maybe it's not bits, maybe it's something else there. Something was taken to Texas anyway. And it does say, you know, story for newspaper. So definitely they were doing a cover-up there, I think. And I reckon that word analysis is correct that they saw in that memo. Be good to actually be 100% sure that someone actually has a copy of the memo and finally brings it to our attention. The government would have a copy of it. They could easily release that information and stop mucking around, right? It's about time they proved beyond doubt that it was a mogul balloon as they claim and not something else. They should just release all the paperwork, you know, and let people decide for themselves. Anyway, where we go from here, I don't know. We got some other YouTube video here.
From my point of view, when was that base open?
Sorry? What was
when
open?
was that base open? Fort Worth, yeah.
We have to do some research on that to find out, won't we? I suppose fort, the term fort comes from old colonial areas, right? Used to be like an old wooden fort there, probably.
Yeah, it's kind of it's an English translation, obviously. Found
Okay,
its
we want a
way into
Wikipedia on it, I suppose. Air Force Base, northwest of Fort Worth. Doesn't actually mention it, so I'm not too sure.
It's too hard.
Established, maybe you have to say. I can't even spell it. Established. Oh, come on, Paul. I don't know if I spelled it right. Anyway, here we go. 1994, they reckon, is it? No, that can't be right. Welcome to Naval Station Joint Reserves. So that doesn't sound like it. It sounds like another division.
No, it's been there since 1941, 1942, Paul.
Here we go. Yeah, Fort Worth Air Force Base was... Hang on. It might be on there one. What's that say? Carswell Air Force Base is a former United States Air Force base located northwest of Fort Worth, Texas. They got too many Air Force bases in America. Still, B-29s was closed in 1994, but when was it opened? Bomber Group. So that's when they used to have bombs on planes. 1948, so... It must have been there in the 40s, like you said, origins.
Yeah.
1940, the city of Fort Worth had filed application, so it's probably even before 1947.
Well, according to what I found here, it was formerly Carswell Air Force Base in 41.
Yeah, 1940 it's got here. Give or take a year, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of it before it was built. You see, back then there wasn't many houses and highways as today. Yeah, still. So yeah, it's definitely in the ballpark there, isn't it? So.
But I'm not sure what kind of facility they would have, the
Well,
facility
because
that
of
they've had.
yeah, I'm not too sure if Lockheed Martin was there. How long has Lockheed Martin been around? Lockheed
That's quite important.
established. Let's see. 1995? Is it really a young company? I think Hughes was before these guys. Our history. Here we go. 1912. I noticed. I read there. So what's it saying? Well, that looks pretty old. Wright brothers, right? Our history. 100 years ago. 1912. Glenn L. Martin established it. Glenn L. Martin Company.
Okay, so that would have made sense.
Yeah.
If something we didn't understand had crashed there. So, yeah.
I think the memo's correct. I think they definitely took it there.
If the memo was correct, it would have kind of made some sense.
Now, what's the people on the side reckon? Because it's like a research division for aero parts, right? To see if they could figure out what it was that crashed, right? It kind of makes sense. Whether it's our technology, Russians, or something else. So you wanted us to play this video here. I think it's the same interview as this one up here, is it? New
Yes, it
YouTube.
No, we can move on from this now.
Okay.
But yeah, sure. They're the two most highest ranking. I'm not saying they're the best witnesses, but in terms of credibility, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Okay. Now.
So that you reckon the bodies were taken to Kentucky? Do you?
Me, Kentucky? Good God, no.
Whereabouts were they taken then?
Dayton, Ohio, I think. There was a bio lab there.
Okay, so we need to bring that up on the map then, just to see where it goes to. Dayton. Is it called an Air Force Base or is it called something else?
No, it's all kind of in the same complex as Wright Patterson.
US Air Force Base,
Dayton. Is it Wright Field now?
Is it in
There's
OH?
definitely a bio lab there.
What was it? Dayton, Ohio, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it must be that one then. Let's see where it takes us. See, that's quite a big trip there. 27 hours by road. I'm not sure how. That's most of America, so that would take at least a couple of hours by air. If that was one, that would at least take 4 or 5 hours there, wouldn't it? By the old planes back then. So you reckon the bodies were taken there and the parts were taken to Lockheed Martin there, possibly by the memo. But it didn't say anything about alien bodies in that memo, though.
See, Wright Pat had its own thought and technology division, which was the most developed probably in the world at the time. So that's the whole reason I was doubting the Fort Worth thing, and Lockheed Martin. But you don't know, you can't be sure. But if the memo is correct, yeah, that may be a good point.
So what have we got? Wright Patterson. Is that another Air Force base? Is that let's see, let's add it to the map.
Well, it's not famous, it's infamous, Paul.
Is it coming up? There we go. Also in the same area, right? It's midway, so that makes a bit more sense. Smack in the middle here. Yep. On board, on state lines, by the looks of it. Hang on, that's not the right location, is it? Gotta be over here somewhere. What's going on with this map?
Where you are now.
Where's that location there?
Yeah, that's the one, Ohio.
Seems to go smack in the middle. That can't be the start of the state there, can it? That's Oklahoma, isn't it? And that's not making any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, you see Michael Butando, thanks pal. Yeah, he's telling us there, you know, there's an Air Force research lab in Ohio. And there has been for donkeys. You know, it would pay to listen to the side chat sometimes, Paul, if you're not sure, but I was trying to tell you the same thing. Oh.
Yeah, but this location is wrong.
No,
that's
it's
Oklahoma, isn't
not
it?
wrong at all. It's Dayton, Ohio, Paul.
It must be. Oh, there's the border there. Let's see. Let's go down. Well, why is Pattinson not come up on the map here? This.
Maybe because it's called Drightfield these days.
Yeah.
These things change name.
But that's not what it says here.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's get rid of that one there. See if it updates the map. See, that's it's misleading me. It's not there. It's all in the same location. There you go. So it was near the other one you said. Now I've deleted it. I don't know what it was called now. But yeah, they're all in the same location. So you're right. That's all over here somewhere. So it's still a fair distance. But yeah, that makes sense that if they transported alien bodies here, they may have transported some other bits as well to be analysed in that direction as well. And also some to this location here of Lockheed Martin. So there was a research facility there. What else they got hanging around there at the moment, anyway?
Well,
does it tell us the building names?
I don't know. If it was anything super secret, Paul, you're not going to find it on Google Maps, are you?
There's a big building here. So what's that say there? 54 airlift. I mean, 4 or 5 airlift, whatever that is. But yeah, look at this area here. Huge runways. Definitely for big planes, right? So what's over this side here? What do we got here? Uniform store. It's not other. There's not other names that we're used to. Like there was Lockheed Martin, there was Hughes Corporation, and there was also another one, wasn't there? What did Earl Grey say? Because his mum used to do recruitment for these places, and she was the secretary for
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes as well. So she would know what was going on. So there's Dayton that you talked about there anyway. Fort Kinley. But there's no Lockheed Martin there, so it makes sense why it went to Fort Worth. But anyway, We got some other link to go, or what? Further down, is it? You want us to read out the rest of this?
Well, nah, that's okay. We'll move on now.
Move on?
Yeah.
Oh, you sure there wasn't anything interesting there? What
Nah.
was so different about the weather balloon that it deserved special treatment? The Air Force claims that further identification was necessary. See, it sort of fits that memo again. The bits were taken away for further analysis, right? They're saying here as well in his quotes.
Yeah. Well, we know that wasn't a weather balloon.
No. But they covered up a weather balloon with another balloon, which is kind of strange. And
yeah, that was 1995, and then they covered up the bodies in 1997, and that was even more scary than the aliens. As now we had time traveling, crash test dummies, which is a little bit disturbing at the best of times. But yeah, okay, you can believe that kind of thing if you want. Anyway, here's the next link.
Yeah. Yeah, it does sound like it's a cover story anyway. But whether it was another top secret experiment gone wrong, we don't know. Because we ain't got no leaks of paperwork still of.
But what's the most disturbing thing is something went down there, it seems, that was so high tech we just couldn't understand it at all. That there's rumours still to this day that whatever they found, they just can't reverse engineer it at all.
So this is an interesting paragraph here. Let's just have a let's see. Is it going to let us read it? Where's the reader thing gone? That's strange. Can't see the reader in the list. Continue to read loud. Alright, okay.
A new twist in the Dubose story emerged in 2006 to 2007 with the release of Roswell Public Information Officer Walter Oates' deathbed affidavit and a videotaped interview from 2000. In them, Oates stated that both Dubose and General Ramey had flown to Roswell Base to attend the General Staff meeting on the morning of July 8, thus about 10 hours before the action shifted over to Ramey and his weather balloon story in Fort Worth that afternoon. Their briefings were given about the crashed saucer and recovered crew, and a discussion was held on how to publicly handle the situation. Ramey stated that it was to be covered up.
That's in the memo.
Thus Oates' affidavit and interview would indicate that Dubose was well aware of the crash of a flying saucer and the recovery of alien bodies. If that was the case, then Dubose knew much more than he would publicly disclose. However, Dubose did hint that he knew more. Stanton Friedman, who was the first to find and interview Dubose, indicates that Dubose would tell him to keep going, that he was following the right track, i.e., flying saucer crash, without being fully explicit about what he meant. Even if one discounts Oates' revelations, there is no doubt that Dubose's testimony was explicit about the high secrecy and the cover-up surrounding Roswell that had nothing to do with a balloon crash. Further, it involved something far stranger than balloon debris that required a special and very secret shipment of debris to Washington and then to Wright Field. More recent Dubose revelations by NASA's Clark McClelland. Roswell was an alien crash, new, 2012. Recently an interview with Dubose by Clark McClelland has come to light that would seem to corroborate Oates' affidavit that Dubose knew a lot more than what he publicly let on.
Yeah, stop it
McClelland
there, Paul.
started his diverse career with...
Yeah, you see, Walter Hart, that he was the media, he was the press release officer guy. So he was the one that put the story out about the flying disc. So it's important to know that. And of course, he had his orders of Blanchard, who was the the guy that was running the base at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, yeah, it's McClelland. I'm not really sure who he is. Oh, he was the interviewer. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you wanted another link put up? Okay.
No. Carry on with this.
Oh, I thought you posted something else here. You want me to carry on?
With NASA in 1958 at Cape Canaveral, now Cape Kennedy, and later moved to the Kennedy Space Center in Houston, ending his career in 1992 after McClelland says NASA fired him as punishment for breaking security on a UFO incident he personally observed. See below. His many jobs at NASA included shuttle ground test pilot and in mission control. He informed me he was personally involved in launching or observing 679 missions during his career and into the present. McClelland has recently written, StargateChronicles.com, having interviewed Dubose in 1990 in Dubose's Florida home. In this off-the-record interview, Dubose wouldn't allow McClelland to record it. Reconstructed from notes and memory, McClelland claims Dubose went far further in his story, admitting that Roswell was indeed a crashed alien spacecraft recovery, including 4 to 5 small dead bodies and 1 live one. The story of a surviving alien pops up in
Not
several
J-Rod,
other
is
accounts
it?
as well. See testimony in
No.
support of Roswell mortician Glenn Dennis' story. McClelland depicts Dubose's language as profane, as it was in some other interviews, particularly so when he mentioned his disgust with the cover-up, even telling McClelland he might put out a public statement telling the real story, something he never did, and how he, as a senior officer, was not allowed to actually see the crash material or bodies because of all the security. It particularly riled him that captured Nazi scientists, people he hated and had fought
banned
against,
word.
were allowed to see the crash site, but he was completely frozen out.
We've lost
This
ads now.
jives with other interviews where Dubose said he was never allowed to see the real debris, with his boss, General Roger Ramey, strictly enforcing orders from above to keep Dubose away from it. Again, Dubose
Yeah, okay.
confirms that the weather balloon depicted in the photos was a cover story, deliberately flown in. He said he was also responsible for this, whereas the real debris all went to Wright Field, Ohio. This does not necessarily conflict with Roswell intelligence officer
Yeah, it
Jesse
doesn't
Marcel's story,
fit
who
with
said the
Fort
plane he
Worth
flew
there.
to Fort Worth to see Ramey en route to
Yeah.
Wright Field was full of
Stop
real
it after
debris,
this,
but he also brought a few wrapped samples of the more interesting stuff to show General Ramey. Dubose would not
yeah, we lost
necessarily have
ads.
known of this if Ramey was keeping him away from it for security reasons. Dubose added that Marcel, also in the photos, was deliberately set up to take the fall. In reality, the newspapers never blamed Marcel, instead usually attributing the supposedly bungly flying disc ID to Roswell Public Information Officer Walter Oates.
Yeah.
Some excerpts from McClelland.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Charles is sitting on the sideline here, and little debate going on between him and Michael. I just don't know, but I do know one thing. Timothy Good came to the conclusion, he was a very well respected English UFO researcher, that they were actually vulnerable in the early days of shells. Anything electrically guided, they could deal with without any issue. But a primitive thing like a shell, they were vulnerable to. So could it have been shot down? My God, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Go on.
Spying on the base. Yeah, I'm just catching up in the side chat so people can read what people are saying there. You want me to carry on? Okay, where did we get to?
Yeah. Oh my God, what's that bit with Stephen Greer? Oh Jesus.
Hallelujah, brother.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could have been lightning strike as well. It could have been the high-powered radar. Anything that could interfere with the navigational system is a possibility. But
Yeah,
we just don't
I don't
know.
really trust
I mean,
what
for God's sakes,
Greer's
maybe the
going.
pilot was pissed. I mean, we don't know. We're just guessing. I mean, we don't know these guys don't drink alcohol, or maybe they just nodded off, and it was
Well,
piloted. That's common, isn't it? I mean,
hmm.
why should an alien be impartial to, falling asleep and pilot it? It can happen.
Or a heart attack.
Exactly at the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
If it was shot down, then imagine what they have now. Well, they haven't been shot down too many times since, it seems. I don't know. Maybe they just adapted. My own personal opinion on this is that once we developed that bomb in 1945, there was obviously a big surge in UFO sightings and UFO events. There's no
Well, if they
question
had
about that.
Okay, let's assume that aliens were in somewhere else in the solar system and weren't really worried about Earth too much, apart from maybe coming here for water. But there was meant to be water on other planets, even though it's frozen. Maybe when they noticed the atomic bomb radiating radiation into space, then they had to investigate what was going on, because that's a serious weapon to them, probably. Certainly would be able to destroy them with that kind of power.
Well, Paul, a full-scale thermonuclear war could knock this planet out of its axis. Now, if that was to happen, then it's going to affect worlds quite distant from us.
Yeah.
Ones they may be a part of. There's another thing. Maybe it was nothing human at all, or maybe it was no accident.
Or interdimensional. You also got to always keep
maybe
that.
There was two. Maybe in 1947 there was two different species, or several different species of alien out there, and they didn't particularly get on.
You
So
mean like
something came
humans?
down. Yep.
Infighting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really true. We just don't know. We just don't know the full story. And I reckon someone out there in the USA has a better idea in military of what's out there and what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed, Paul.
But yeah, the nuclear test did seem to cause something of interest to happen. Maybe the nuclear bomb opened up the interdimensional portal that allowed them to come in. Even.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't know what they were, where they were.
Maybe it caused a
Confusion.
rift between interdimensions, and now they're trying to repair it. Or maybe they just come here to plunder. Who knows? To do research, even. Maybe to figure out, oh, right, this is something new, we need to investigate it.
Yeah, Ken says, could have been deliberately crashed. Well, hell, we don't know. Yeah, why not? And people say, they've travelled all these vast distances only to crash in the desert.
Yeah.
It's a silly presumption to make. It could have been damned anything.
Yeah. And
we don't know these guys are infallible. We don't know anything about them, to be honest. Well, some people claim to do. I certainly don't claim that.
Well, didn't what's his name? Eisenhower give an order to shoot down them?
No, that was Truman.
Truman, was it? And so that still might be the kill order, if these particular alien race comes into our airspace, shoot them down. And maybe they're figuring out the way to do that. Maybe with high-powered microwave beam,
Well, look at the Iranian incident in 1976. That didn't end too well. For those that tried to shoot them down. all the instruments were shut off on the planes as soon as they were about to hit the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think it's a good idea to go shooting at these guys. If we can get here, then it's just
American shoot
it's
first, ask questions later.
well, yeah. There's been plenty of dead bodies, I think, chasing UFOs. I could name a few for a fact. Whether it by accident or design, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But they're only stories still, and it's a bit hard to know what's happened. It's just got messy. The thing is, who released the story of it being a flying saucer? It was U.S. military, army, wasn't it? Not the newspaper, not reporters, but actually the army released it as a flying disc, and then tried to cover up, backtrack on it.
Well, it's maybe the best piece of evidence you can have. I mean, I've got the damn thing on the wall. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the headline. Yeah. Royal Army Air Force captures flying saucer on a ranch in Roswell. In Roswell region, because it was 75 miles northwest of Roswell.
And who released that, though?
Yeah.
Who released it? Can you just tell people who released it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the base commander was Blanchard, Butch Blanchard. He was known as. He was a colonel at the time, and he passed it on to Walter Hart, who was the press release officer at the time, and he passed it on to the Roswell Daily Record, amongst other media outlets. The story hit the news on a global basis.
Mm-hmm.
But Blanchard, for this terrible error of mistaking a weather balloon or a UFO for a weather balloon, actually he went from colonel to a 4-star general, and he had his own little place in the Pentagon. And unfortunately, he died at just 50 years of age from a massive heart attack. Walter Hart, he made an affidavit towards the end of his life, saying that Blanchard had told him it was ET and it was aliens.
The thing is, heart attacks always is a bit suspicious because they can be introduced in lots of different ways to make it look like a natural death as well.
Yeah. Okay. Michael asks, what did the aliens look like from the Roswell crash? Okay. Fairly typical to what we'd call an alien grey now.
Big heads, big eyes.
4 foot
big
heads,
high.
big eyes. 4.5 to 5 feet, and all of a similar size. We've had some people try to, I don't know, kind of make a conspiracy theory out of it, and saying they were Japanese deformed dwarves that were prisoners of war from the Second World War, and they were tested on a V2 rocket. Oh, good God, man.
No, there's a new story out to that. No, there's a new story that the Russians genetically modified some children and flew them over Roswell in this type of blimp, was it? And crashed it to make it into a... To see if the Americans would believe that aliens were real or something. Wasn't it a new story that came out that I talked about recently? Let's see if we can find the article on it.
Yeah, do you know what I think you're talking about is Nicholas Redfern's...
Yeah, I think it was Redfern, wasn't it?
Roswell. Yeah.
was really Russian, what do you call them? Russian experiment. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what comes up. I know we have talked about it before, but I must bring it up again. Where's Soviets behind Roswell UFO? Let's see if that one comes up. Childlike children. Probably need to scale down it.
Hold on a second.
Actually, I think I need to go and get something. My sugar levels are suddenly dropping. So I think it talked about Japanese there too, that you mentioned. One of the theories. We got all lots of pop-ups. What's that one? Why do we want to support you? Continue. Where's the close button? Ad blocker. I hate sites like that. Hang on. Looks like we're not going to get anywhere there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what the book was called. It was called Body Snatchers in the Desert by, of course, Nick Redfern.
Oh yeah, here we go. Area 51. Why is it not scrolling? What's the pop-ups? Okay, let's see. Let's probably read out some of it. If it's going to behave. A radical new theory. Okay, that'll do. Can we read it?
A radically different theory as to what happened that strange, stormy day in Roswell, NM, in 1947. Stories of the hush-hushedness of America's reaction have created legends that will live forever. That these were aliens crash landing into our lives is, perhaps, the most beloved explanation of a strange phenomenon in all of science fiction. However, this book written by Annie Jacobsen, a respected investigative reporter, offers such a contrasting explanation for the Roswell mystery that I suggest you clutch something solid right now. For, according to the Telegraph, Jacobsen suggests that the flying object that crashed was an earthly machine. She also reportedly suggests it was sent by Stalin. For myself, I have little affection for a man who locked my own parents up in Siberian labor camps. I'm not even slightly moved by recent supposed evidence that offers he was a manic depressive. Indeed, Jacobsen's Roswell tale offers something that is so sick and twisted that it becomes entirely believable. Jacobsen says she had access to eyewitnesses and previously classified documents. On this basis, she explains that Stalin wanted to create the kind of panic in the USA that Orson Welles' radio adaptation of War of the Worlds created when the innocent and naive first heard it. He was inspired further when the Soviet Union captured a German fighter called the Horten Ho 229. This plane was, so the book reportedly relates, full of alien-like children, created in a eugenics experiment by a Nazi who equaled the evil of Stalin himself, Joseph Mengele. Stalin apparently believed he could send a plane full of these children created with the already exiled Mengele's help over to the US in order to create mass hysteria. However, the remotely piloted plane, which wasn't a flying saucer, crashed. The words of Jacobsen's book make for splendidly disturbing reading. Speaking of the children, she writes that they were unusually petite for pilots. They appeared to be children. Each was under 5 feet tall. They were grotesquely deformed, but each in the same manner as the others. They had unusually large heads and abnormally shaped, oversized eyes. Related links: what happened in Roswell stays in Roswell photos. UFO mania. Now, if cell phone cameras had been around in those days, you just know that images of these alleged flying children would have immediately emerged. You also just know that some would claim they were photoshopped, while many would be flying and driving toward Roswell in the hope of catching a glimpse. The Weekly World News, or perhaps Fox, would have already claimed the first interview. It could be that this tale reportedly based on a chat with an engineer who worked for EGNG, a company that dealt with
Oh,
Thanks.
okay. It was.
Jesus, it just goes to show what desperate lengths people will go to try and explain something that they simply can't.
Mm.
I mean, this is getting bizarre.
Deformed
And
children.
worse than that, and worse than that, it's insulting.
Oh, we've heard E&G before, haven't we? With the Wilson document leaks as well.
Yeah. They were never a company that was on the cutting edge, but sure, you know.
You want me to carry on?
None of these things are working. None of them are working for me. None of these alternative ideas on what actually occurred at Roswell work for me. It's complete and utter flaming nonsense, to be honest, and I don't think it's even worth exploring. I mean, you're better off looking at the people that were there.
Yeah, I had a guy send me the
Than you are people that weren't even born then. Yeah, maybe weren't even born 30, 40 years after, that have come up with these lunatic, crazy conspiracy theories, with and quite often with the likes of Nicholas Redburn, has never spoken to a single one of the first-hand witnesses. Yeah. Nah. I'm sorry for you. That's to sell a book. That is not research. That's to sell a book. It's disappointing. It's insulting, but it says an awful lot about the UFO field. I'm sad to say.
Well, let's see what the rest of it says. I think I got almost to the end.
Yeah.
With quite a few sensitive topics, for the government happens to have some truth. In which case you might wonder why, after all these years, the government hasn't just owned up and sold the rights to Warner Brothers. At least we might be spared any more bad alien movies and comics.
Aliens.
We might also enjoy watching Brad Pitt utter the line to President George Clooney, "These kids, they really are like that little guy from the movie Paul." Zero post a comment. Technically incorrect gaming.
Okay. So we got to the end of the article there. I don't know if there's any other articles here on that. Why won't it go back? I think maybe.
No. That's cool.
Yeah. Book Roswell was a Russian craft. Is that the book we're talking about? Was it? Aliens were Nazi. What's that say there? Aliens were Nazi experiments. What's that? Something to be what the children look like. 2010 film file photo. AI the alien who cast a menacing glance. So I don't know what that's about. Nazi doctor. So that's something else, isn't it? Always something else. So it wasn't Russians, it's Nazis experiments.
No.
His book, Area 51, an uncensored history of Americans' top secrets. Her book? What they talking about here? Whose book are we talking about? What was the name of the author? Where does it say? Must be that same girl. Was it Russian spacecraft? Annie Jacobson. Did she write a book, did she? Is that what they're saying? Mingle. Bill Lynn who self-published a book called Space Aliens from Pentagon in
I think it was
1993.
Jim Mars that when then brought the Nazi side into it, you know. Not 100%
He's
on
saying
it, but
Roswell incident was faked, but he thinks the hoax was
fake.
perpetrated by
Oh, come
by
on.
the US government, not the Russians. So you got all these guys writing all these books and different theories, right? Which is sort of muddying the waters from the original story in the newspaper, right? They're just saying,
Yeah, well, that's the plan, to muddy the waters, because, you know, you
that the
can't see the
Mingle
woods for the
stuff is
trees, can you?
a bunch of hogwash. That sounds like what you would say, because Mingle was recruited by CIA rather than Russians, and he was actually brought into Albuquerque. Eh? I thought he was down in South America. Is that the same person? The doctor that was... There was a movie about it, wasn't it? Let's, I don't know, let's just have a read of this properly anyway. Let's see if that's any different to what we just heard. It's probably going... we've lost ads for the time being anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we read out. This is...
I found it. I
There we
found
go.
it.
Hang on, let me just read this out.
Roswell theory,
Okay.
citing an anonymous source who says Joseph Stalin recruited Mengele and sent the craft into U.S. airspace in 1947 to spark public hysteria. Like past theories, Jacobson writes that the U.S. government was involved in a cover-up of the UFO report, which has spawned space alien legend and turned this southern New Mexico town into a tourist attraction. Bill Line, who self-published a book called Space Aliens from the Pentagon in 1993, agrees that the Roswell incident was faked, but he thinks the hoax was perpetrated by the U.S. government, not the Russians. They're just saying what I've been saying all along, that it was a hoax, he told the Santa Fe New Mexican. But that Mengele stuff is a bunch of hogwash, because Mengele was recruited by the CIA, rather than the Russians, and he was actually brought to Albuquerque. Clifford Clift of the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON, in Greeley, Colorado, said he has not seen Jacobson's book, but has read other articles that suggest the Roswell incident involved German technology. After researching the claim, I found little truth in this theory, he said. It is a stretch. One of my concerns is if they wanted to create panic, why in New Mexico, and not New York, where there are more people to panic? I would suggest it is another conspiracy theory, and, heavens, MUFON knows about conspiracy theories. They do sell books. Jacobson, a contributing editor of the Los Angeles Times Magazine, told NPR that said she knows people will be skeptical. But I absolutely believe the veracity of my source, and I believe it was important that I put his information out there because it is the tip of a very big iceberg, Jacobson said. Julie Schuster, executive director of the International UFO Museum and Research Center in Roswell, told the Albuquerque Journal she hasn't read the book. But any new theories fuel public interest, and that's terrific, she said. Every time something new comes out, it piques somebody's curiosity somewhere, and they come to Roswell, and they come to the museum, Schuster said. Respond, write a letter to the editor, write a guest opinion.
Oh, so we got to the end, and Robert's disappeared. So there you go. Lots of theories out there, and it's all crazy. So people making books. I wonder how many copies they sold of that one. U.S. Panic Telegraph, UK. Was a subhuman creation of Uxwitz Nazi. So that's another one. UK Express. Spit. And there's the Mingle guy again. Spook, a spy plane, Cold War. So it makes you wonder if they could just release all the documents, we would know for sure whether that's nonsense or not. Stupid ads are stopping it scrolling. So everybody's copying the same story and pasting it around. Oh, here we go. You got ad blocker, we can't let you watch the page. Okay, so they're all sort of repeating the same thing. Angel of Death, so that's what he looked like. It's hard to believe that he was a evil man. But a lot of his research actually was used in modern day. He did some terrible experiments. Because normally, you know, you can't experiment on humans because it's not kosher. So they use animals now. But back then he wanted to experiment with twins. Give one twin something and the other twin would be like the control. Here's some evil... There's actually an interesting story how he fled to South America, and there's actually a lot of truth in it. And they were hunting him down.
Okay, I'm the back.
Yep, so where do we go from here? So,
right, okay. This has to be seen. Anyone fancy a laugh?
Okay, you got
I'm
another
well
link.
up for it. Sure have.
Okay,
this is Colonel John Haynes explaining to us all just what happened at Roswell. You ain't seen this before, you're gonna love it. I've never seen a guy so obviously lying in my life before.
I don't see the link down the side.
Yeah, this is a news release from CNN, Paul, so I don't think you have to disguise this at all.
Good, because it takes up extra CPU, which seems to be crazy at the moment.
Okay.
Although I don't think anyone's noticed any problems, so we seem to be going all right.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe some slight glitches with ads and stuff. Because we're using this new browser, which doesn't have... what's happening here? That studio bit gets added on for some reason from the cut and paste. Well, we know how to get around that one. 4-3. You're going to CNN. Okay.
I think we're good to go.
No closed captions. Yes, there is. Well, is it loud enough?
Now, the sensational story spread among the locals
it's one speaker.
is the stuff of national legend, of vast conspiracy theories, even sizable profits for those who managed to keep this story alive. So what really happened? The U.S. Air Force is about to tell us what it says happened. We're going over to the Pentagon now,
enough,
where
guys?
Colonel John Haynes of the U.S. Air Force will tell us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure I'd like to show you this book. Tell you it's $18 and head for the door, but there are 2 armed guards right there, and they're not going to let me out of that easily. Let me read my prepared statement, and then we'll roll a short video that Captain McAndrew will talk about, and then I will answer some questions. We're confident once the report is out and digested by the public that this will be the final word on the Roswell incident. The conclusion of the first report left no doubt that what was recovered near Roswell, New Mexico in July 1947 was debris from a formerly top-secret Army Air Forces research project, codenamed...
CPU's mixed out here. Hang on, that's why it's making googly sounds. Let me just see if I can reduce it a bit. Let's just start that again.
I'm sure I'd like to show you this book. Tell you it's $18 and head for the door, but there are 2 armed guards right there, and they're not going to let me out of that easily. Let me read my prepared statement, and then we'll roll a short video that Captain McAndrew will talk about, and then I will answer some questions. We're confident once the report is out and digested by the public that this will be the final word on the Roswell incident.
Right.
The conclusion of the first report left no doubt that what was recovered near Roswell, New Mexico in July 1947 was debris from a formerly top-secret Army Air Forces research project, codenamed Mogul. Mogul was an attempt to acoustically detect Soviet nuclear blast and ballistic missile launches. Mogul used an odd assortment of equipment carried aloft by a balloon train more than 600 feet long. This balloon train consisted of 25 balloons, attached acoustic devices, and several radar reflectors, which looked like box kites. In 1947, it was the misidentification of these radar reflectors that is most likely the famous flying disc. Today, we're releasing the final report to address questions about alleged bodies associated with the Roswell story. This report has 4 main conclusions. If you have your books, turn to page 3. We'll have a lesson. 1, Air Force activities which occurred over a period of many years have been consolidated and are now represented to have occurred in 2 or 3 days in July 1947. 2, bodies observed in the New Mexico desert were probably test dummies that were carried aloft by U.S. Air Force high-altitude balloons for scientific research. 3, the unusual military activities in the New Mexico desert were high-altitude research balloon launch and recovery operations. The reports of military units that always seem to arrive shortly after a crash were actually accurate descriptions of Air Force personnel engaged in the dummy recovery operations. 4, claims of bodies at the Roswell Army Airfield Hospital were most likely a combination of 2 separate incidents. One was a 1956 KC-97 aircraft accident in which 11 Air Force members lost their lives. Or,
do you realize just what he said there? He's trying to say that something that happened in 1956 was the reason for people getting mixed up in 1947. I apologize, but if you've seen alien bodies, you are going to know damn well when you've seen it. And it's about to get a lot worse.
There was a police cop, wasn't there? I think that's something else we talked about previously. That he said he saw bodies, but he wasn't actually a deputy sheriff or something until
it's
after
not
the
just
time.
that, Yeah, it's not just that, Paul. You can actually tell this guy does not want to be there, He's been the fall guy, if you like. He's given the job of putting this out there, and he doesn't want to be there. And it becomes more apparent as we go on.
I think that 1956 relates to that particular sheriff, though, wasn't it? Sounds to me like there was another crash that happened, and
there was lots of accidents around that area, Paul, because they were testing there.
Yeah.
But they, for God's sake, they're not going to send anything experimental up in the air.
I don't know if we can find the document.
Okay.
Yeah, carry on.
No, carry on with that.
With the thing. Yeah. Hang on, sheriff.
What are you doing? Wilcox.
Wrong about dates. Right, Roswell.
Oh, no, Pop, this is disturbing the whole line of things now.
What was his name? Can't remember what his name was, but we have covered
Wilcox. Polly, listen to me. It's Wilcox.
a 1959 manned balloon mishap in which 2 Air Force pilots were injured. That information is in this report. These conclusions are listed in page 3, as I said, of the book. Please roll the video.
First clip's pretty quick. I'm going to start off some Air Force high-altitude balloon operations, and the first project's going to be a NASA Viking space probe tested in New Mexico. This was launched from Roswell, New Mexico in 1972 and recovered on the White Sands Missile Range, about 100 miles to the west.
Wow, 1972.
That is the Voyager Mars. Another
How's
test
that
year.
47?
Misdirection.
Where's the body?
And that's not debris either. Zero audio.
Yeah.
This is a typical Air Force high-altitude balloon launch operation in the desert of New Mexico. This is during the mid-50s. That's just a comparison of the size. You can see how many airliners you could fit inside a high-altitude research balloon at altitude. These are just some payloads, unusual payloads, not typically associated with a balloon.
So that's what to do with the space race in 1960s, right?
Next will be the reconnaissance project Mogul. The project took place in New Mexico in 1947. This is some equipment associated with Project Mogul. There's the famous box kite that became the famous flying disc. The weather balloons that were on the balloon train.
Ooh, terrible.
That's the tinfoil paper, rubber, and sticks that they recovered in the desert near New Mexico in 1940.
Tries to strike.
1950s. There's one of the project officers with that particular dummy is known as a Sierra Sam, manufactured by Sierra Engineering Corporation. One of the technical reports listed in the bibliography of the report. This is actually a manned subject, but that's what the dummies were used for, to test ejection.
That's not a dummy.
That's a man. Here's how the dummies were employed. 2 dummies to a rack. Some were in a gondola. They flew up to 98,000 feet. This launch is in New Mexico. That's an upshot, and there goes the dummy. He would free fall for a period of time, and a drogue chute would deploy, and the object was to recover a human from a high-altitude aircraft. They often landed at off-range locations throughout New Mexico, often observed by civilians. This is where the recovery crews would scurry in to recover them, either with aircraft or ground vehicles. This is retired Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger, Jr. This is the culmination of the high-altitude projects that used the dummies. And that's the Excelsior 3 gondola in 1960. And that's Captain Kittinger. That is a world record parachute jump, still stands today. He free fell for 4 minutes and 37 seconds. And he did it 3 times.
I think that's been beaten.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Why did it take so long to come up with this conclusion? You've come up with many other conclusions.
Well, the first report was the GAO required report for Project Mogul. When Captain Gandry was doing additional research after that report had been given to the Secretary, and we were waiting to publish the second report, he was looking for additional pictures. And he uncovered some film strips of the balloon test and the dummies. And that's when he began to do further research. He sent it up the chain, and they said, this is excellent information. It's outstanding scientific research by the Air Force, and we want the public to know about it because it's the public's information.
Colonel, how do you square the UFO enthusiasts saying that they're talking about 1947, well, you're talking about dummies used in the 50s, almost a decade later?
Well, I'm afraid that's the problem that we have with time compression. I don't know what they saw in 47, but I'm quite sure it probably was Project Mogul. But I think if you find that people talk about things over a period of time, they begin to lose exactly when the date was. And there were lots of dummies dropped. There were about 2,500 balloons launched during this 30-year period in New Mexico alone.
Why do you think people in Roswell and elsewhere still are not convinced, no matter what you say?
I'm sorry, but I just can't answer that question for them. But they must look at the evidence. If you will read this book, and I'm sure you're going to take it home tonight and read it, quite frankly, you're going to find some very interesting and quite fascinating pieces of information about Air Force research. Whether you accept that as the Roswell information, I quite frankly don't know. But we do, because it overlays so well with this period of time.
Okay, can you pause that there?
Excuse me, sir.
Does the Air
Well, it's at the end anyway.
Yeah, it's at the end of the first bit. Oh my God, we've got to watch this in full. That book was nearly 1,000 pages, right? And it talks about all these projects that were in the 50s and the 60s, all of them that were absolutely quite mundane, to be honest. Nothing on 1947 apart from the Mogul bullshit, which was a weather balloon with a microphone attached. They actually had a return address on those balloons. If you found one, can you please hand it back over here? You get a $5 reward. I'll tell you what, yeah? Even the dogs in Roswell knew what a balloon was. They used to come down so often. They just cocked a leg on it, piss on it. Yeah, move on. Let's try and find something a little bit more interesting. And this guy's just trying to pass this off. Oh, no. It's insulting. No, I'm carry on, Paul. Because it gets funnier. It should go straight on to number 2 for you now if you're on auto.
Yeah, let me just check something here. So we got 1 dislike so far. Great. I wonder who that was.
Okay, forget about that.
Yeah, hopefully the CPU's leveling out now. Okay.
Okay.
Regret not declassifying some of this information sooner rather than just the last few years.
Great question. Nothing in here was ever classified. In the first report, everything was classified in the 70s.
How much did the study cost?
That's a good question, and quite frankly, we've not captured the data. But let me tell you that we've had no more than 1 or 2 people on it, probably not even full-time over the last 2 years. I can get that for you, but I just don't know, because we just got the book on the 10th, and I don't know what the publishing costs are. Yes, ma'am.
Colonel, let me just clear up 2 things that you sort of brushed over quickly. Number 1 was the time frame that people are going to say, but this is 10 years. How could they possibly make a mistake on the 10 years? And number 2, you said it was never classified, and yet why didn't people at the time say, well, my goodness, we were having dummy tests. This explains the answer.
Yeah, he said there was a part 2. Is it on?
Yeah, it's there's more than that.
By you shutting down the video, I think we got a wee bit more CPU back actually.
That's why I done it, Paul.
Some of the brightest people in the forces to come up with something so stupid. Mr. Ken. Where's Shelley today? I haven't seen Shelley on.
No, I've not seen Shelley either, to be honest.
Michael. Here we got joining us on the side. Susan. Susan's been a bit quiet. Okay, so we got another link to go. Is it on this page?
I'm doing my best to work on this because it's...
Right. Yeah, I
Here
think
we go.
there's a problem there with the data back and forth through my minimal connection here.
If you look in here, you'll.
It was creating 100% CPU, but yeah, it's not been too bad. I still think we need to. I need to save it for one of these new 12-core laptops because there's only 6-core, and it's still not fast enough.
Okay, here we go. Here's part 2. And that wasn't easy to find. Now, it should be easy to find, but it's not.
Mm.
I posted the link, Paul.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Mm. It looks bigger.
I mean, just look at his face there. Oh my God. That is a picture of someone that doesn't want to be where he is.
Mm.
Well, the dummy test actually, you need to get the book. Actually, you need to look in here. If you look in here, you'll find there are a couple of things in which the dummy tests get lots of media attention. I have it tabbed and I should be able to find it, but quite frankly, I'm sitting here and my knees are shaking.
26, sir.
Wait there,
20,
stop
page
it.
26.
Stop it. Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah. Did you?
My knees are shaking. Why are his knees shaking?
Because he's nervous in front of reporters?
Because he's nervous, because he's putting out a load of shit. If he was justified in what he was saying, yeah, he wouldn't be nervous, would he? In fact, he goes on to say, I'm so nervous my legs are shaking. Now, come on. He's got to a colonel in the army. He knows full well how to talk to people and even talk down to people. But he's been put in this position and he doesn't know how to do it, does he?
Mm.
He knows he's lying.
Yeah.
There we go. Just let it run in its entirety because it's worth it's a good laugh.
Explain those two things.
Okay, there's a picture for that. But let me tell you that I don't know why they can't associate that time period. I'm sorry, I just don't have any information for that. All I know is what the Air Force did, and that if you overlay much of their claims and you look at the Air Force scientific research, you can see it's obvious that what we're talking about at Roswell, and I don't mean Roswell in 47 because that was Project Mogul. That was unmanned. I want to make that very clear. And that's the first report. But over that period of time, dummies were dropped all around there. And I think it's logical to assume that the people there saw Air Force ambulances come out, they saw gurneys come out, they saw body bags come out because the dummies were put into body bags to protect them. They saw people in pith helmets. They saw people in shorts out there brushing the bushes looking for the remnants of the balloons. And when you put all that stuff together and spin it, you find that it fits perfectly with many of the occurrences in Roswell during that era.
They also said that these figures were much smaller stature than full-size adult figures. How do you reconcile that?
I don't reconcile that. I just have no idea why they say that.
Can you help us with when the dummies were first used? What year?
53.
And how many you say numbers?
Well, the actual balloon launchings were about 2,500. Actual number of dummies dropped were, it's actually in the book and it's very specific, but the number just escapes me. It's more than 300 or 400. Yes, sir.
Why did they make it the design resemble to flying saucer? It makes it very suspicious.
The flying saucer. Now you were talking about in the video. That's also in here, I might add, and you saw it in the video. Some of the and you're looking at payloads. What they were doing is they wanted to recover these payloads, and so they were testing the parachutes. And I totally agree. If I saw something like that, I'm riding along out there near Rio del Sol, and I'm wandering out in the desert, and I see this funny-looking dish out there. I might want to poke around at it, but quite frankly, this is probably what it was.
You keep saying, using the word probably, and you say case closed. Those two don't jive.
Yeah,
How do you
right.
reconcile
Okay, let me say, from the Air Force perspective, that's exactly what it was.
So does the Air Force
And I don't mean to be rude about that. I want you to understand we are very, very proud of this report. We think in our office that this answers lots of questions, and it answers them logically and with integrity. And one other thing I might add is if you want to do your own research, in the back is a complete technical report bibliography, and also there is a terrific set of endnotes. And I recommend that if you're interested in this, that you take these and you do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Yes, sir.
Does the Air Force have any evidence at all of any sort of spacecraft wreckage or extraterrestrial presence on Earth?
Yes, sir.
And what is, can you tell us anything about this myth of Area 51, which has become part of everything from Hollywood movies to a local legend? What is Area 51? Is there such a place, and what does it do?
That actually should be outside this brief. Let me ask you a question. If you are talking about Groom Lake, Nevada, is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the scene everybody remembers from the movie Independence Day.
My daughter asked me the same question. There is a facility in Groom Lake, Nevada. Quite frankly, I have no knowledge or expertise in the matters. I understand there are classified things that go on there, and that's all I have to say about it.
Well, let me just have one follow-up. How do you know? I mean, your name is now, Colonel John Haynes is going to go down in UFO lore as one of the people who took part, in the minds of some people, in the continuing cover-up by the government. How do you know that you're not being used? How do you know that you know the full story when you that there's no evidence of it?
So a big joke.
Because our job is to review all the Air Force documents for this era.
I know.
And that's how we came up with this exciting and interesting and intriguing, quite frankly, report. I know you think that sounds like a broken record, but you need to get in here and read it, and you will see that many of
they are today.
And I don't think people heard what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. If you look at going back to '97, now people went on the side of the UFO, like the media went on the side of the UFO as much as they are today, since December 2017, really. So yeah, for them to be laughing at the guy, and I think he was quite happy for that little break in the conversation now with the Independence Day thing, because it's kind of relaxed him a little bit. I've kept stum and made him feel a little bit more nervous, to be honest. Because he's lying through his teeth, and anyone that can't see that, I think, has learning difficulties. They're just my personal opinion, that's all.
So was this the guy that released the press release initially? Is that the same guy?
There was a 95 one. Where
the very first press release was Hayes, was it? You said it was Hayes that released it to the newspaper. Or was it Holt? Have I got the wrong guy? Was it Holt?
Oh, good God, man. Yeah, Walter Holt was like about 30 at the time. Probably wouldn't have been alive in 1997, would
right.
he? So it's taken them all this time to come up with an explanation, like 50 years. And of course, this second press release was about the bodies rather than that whatever did crash there. But whatever did crash there, I don't think they knew what it was then, and I don't think they know what it was now. So hell, make of that what you want. It's up to you. I'm not going to push my opinions, but I think you know where I go.
Yeah. So what's the background on this guy here, then? Where has he come from? Out of the woodwork?
Well, the fall guy. The stuntman who came a bit of a cropper, basically. Never heard of since. Someone had to do it, Paul. Someone had to do it, yeah. Yeah, Child's there. God, yeah, I mean, it's that bad. Flying saucer with a parachute. and how on earth did Mogul, my God, a balloon does not crash. It loses altitude. Sometimes it's hitting in a lightning storm or whatever, and it loses altitude, and it just folds up. You could pack it up into your boot of your car, But this debris was over like 3/4 to 1 mile, and up to several hundred yards or half a mile wide. The opinions vary on that, But they couldn't identify it, and the people at Roswell, they were handpicked. They didn't have any Muppet show there. Like from Blanchard to Mac Brazil to all the other guys that we looked at tonight, Thomas DeBose, Arthur Exxon, they were all top notch. It was the jewel in the crown of the Army Air Force at the time.
Yeah. Wasn't there some Men in Black back then as well? Was there Men in Black that sort of put pressure on newspapers to change their story and stuff?
Well, we know for a fact there was an FBI call, yeah, and they told them to shut their mouths or we'll shut you down.
Yeah, it sounds like Men in Black, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it was the FBI, and they identified themselves as that as well. So
right.
It wasn't really that mischievous.
Was it the radio DJ? Was there a radio DJ? I remember something about that, wasn't there? Also, wasn't there like a radio station they threatened?
Yes, they did. Yeah, you're on the same incident, Paul. They did that. They told everyone to shut down and stop broadcasting about this. Well, of course, they realised this. At first, they thought, "Oh God, this is what my opinion of what happened is." There were so many reports of flying discs that they originally thought, "Hell, we've got one, and we'll release it and stop the panic." Then they realised they had something that was very advantageous in the hands with the Cold War and Russia going on. It could have been a good propaganda tool, and they changed their mind. I mean, I don't know for sure that I wasn't there, but it's just my humble opinion, that's all.
And of course, there was other UFO crashes reported that we saw in the memos, right? Those famous memos, Sabaka and 51, was it? 51, 53?
You got 47, that was Roswell, of course. Then you got Aztec, that was 48.
There was some other unknown crashes as well, I think. 51 or something like that.
Yeah, and then you had the Barney Burnett story, which is also in New Mexico, but didn't tally with the dates. According to like Timothy Good, for example, now he reckons several came down in the late 40s, but after that, nothing much,
Yeah.
But like we all thought the Aztec crash was pretty much a complete and utter myth. But when you look at it closely now, thanks to the work of the Ramsey couple, Suzanne and is it James and Suzanne Ramsey?
Is it Ramsey or Ramy that you're talking about there?
No, Ramsey as you're talking about the general that conducted debunking exercise. No, the Aztec crash was researched by the Ramseys, yeah. So I don't know. And then you had that one in Las Vegas, which is a little bit later. And then you got to wait quite a long time, to be honest, before you see a decent account, which I think 1996, the Virginia crash in Brazil. Yeah, but we're
Or
going
the
to never
ones
want
that
to
you
look
know
at.
about, anyway. I think there's some that weren't reported, you know.
Oh,
Maybe they're in such a remote place that there weren't people able to see it crash or whatever. But yeah,
Paul, you make such a good point there. You know,
mm.
Because I think maybe after all this happened and the cock up in their attempts to cover it up, I think they got a bit better at, you know, pulling this cover story than what they were back then. When, and you know, I kind of presume it was the first one.
Mm. Well, you saw some of those early pictures. There weren't as much build up around the bases as there is today. I guess they want people to build houses and all that around these Air Force bases to cause more casualties if war came out. Well, to sort of reduce them being bombed, I guess, by future wars. Have people around the bases, call it collateral damage. Or just to hide stuff in plain sight, right? Have a lot of farms around, and around the underground bases.
Yeah, you can argue that, you know, how come one has never crashed in a city?
Mm.
Yeah, okay, so then it's going to be game over, isn't it? But you can also argue that a lot of these supposed crashes have happened around military bases, which are, for good reason, in remote areas, you know, because of testing and what have you, and out of the eye of the prime public. So yeah, of course.
Well, I don't think UFOs crash. They're probably designed to always hover even when they fell, right? But like us, if you're going to have flying cars, you're going to think of backup systems where if something failed, that it's still going to hover in place, right? If you invented anti-gravity, you'd have like a backups generator or something. You'd have something in place, or parachute system that deploys and it comes down gently. But I think these crashes on purpose, like you said, they've been shot down by military, or maybe they got some sort of problem with the radar systems they were using back then that were only around Air Force bases rather than cities. So that's probably why they come down around Air Force bases.
Well, it's quite a it's quite a popular one that you know the frequency of radar kind of interferes with the navigation system. But I'm not entirely buying that either. If they could get here, surely they could combat that. But you know, maybe that's the only reason that they've come down on maybe just a handful of occasions. And I'm sure if it was any kind of intelligence, you're gonna move on from your mistakes, aren't you?
Well, we know microwave can fry electronics. And of course, we don't know what the skins of these craft are made from. They're sort of probably like nano what do you call it? Memory metal. So could it disrupt the anti-gravity field on the skin? That's possible. Because microwave, we know, heats up, right? If you've got a beam, intense beam, intentional or not, whether they're using it for radar, it could do some impact on high technology. because they may be shielded against ionizing radiation, but not for about microwave beam. If you've been watching the Skinwalker Ranch, they've been having problems with the electronics.
Jesus, right, okay, that, yeah. Well, listen, we're just playing a guessing game. You know,
Oh yeah, of course,
we?
it's all guessing.
To be honest.
But we're answering the people there that said why UFOs not crashing over cities, and I'm trying to explain it. My thinking.
Yeah, but you have to take into account as well that night that came down. I think it was the 3rd of July, 1947. Of course, there was a tremendous thunderstorm, which was unusual even for the New Mexico region. So who knows? Maybe they were just caught out by that. Well, maybe they were a new visitor, first time on the planet.
But it does also seem to be like they were trying to check out nuclear weapons, and of course that's not going to be deployed over cities, so it's going to be out in the remote areas, farms, whatever, silos and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at the time, Roswell was the only base in the world at the time that housed nuclear weapons. Of course, they were in bomb form. Then they couldn't be launched. They'd have to be put on, an aircraft, and then you'd have to stick it on an aircraft carrier, and then you'd have to launch the bomber, to get whatever you wanted to.
Yeah, very true.
I don't think the intercontinental ballistic missiles were developed until well into the 50s. I think, yeah.
Why would they take a chance on crashing to?
What the hell have you done to the webpage?
What's Charles saying? Why would they take a chance on crashing to die? You mean D-I-E or D-Y-E? I'm not too sure I understand.
They take a chance on. Well, no, they wouldn't. I don't know. Unless I think I know where his chance is coming from there. Well, if it was an artificial intelligence, it just could have been a sacrifice. To just shows that there's some other guys out here. But Jesus, man, I'm blowing my mind to kind of think of anything like that.
Well, that's another thing. If they're biological robots, they could easily go wrong.
Yeah.
And the pilot could crash it, right? Which is a robot. So yeah. Maybe the microwave penetrated the shields from the radar and scrambled the robot's brain as well, and so it crashed. That was flying it. So it's another possibility. So you want me to carry on?
Yeah, please.
The things that people think they saw correlate perfectly with Air Force research projects.
You're confident that you're not part of any cover-up, wittingly or unwittingly?
I'm totally confident, but I think Colonel Weaver, you might have seen him on TV earlier, said it best. We can't even keep single secrets. How could we have a conspiracy or a cover-up?
We have a question, a follow-up to the Groom Lake operating location. Recently, there were a lot of sightings out in Arizona of supposed UFOs. Is it possible, within the range of possibility, that any classified aircraft from the Groom Lake area were in that vicinity, and this might explain why people are suddenly seeing a lot of strange landing lights and so forth?
Well, let me say two things. Number one, as far as Groom Lake, I don't have any knowledge of that area. Forgive me. It's just not within my area of expertise. I don't have the access. End of quote. Secondly, if you're interested in the Arizona question, I suggest that you contact the local authorities in Arizona and see what they have to say, because the Air Force no longer does any investigation of UFOs. Yes, sir.
Let's go back to that so-called Area 51, because in people's minds, when you say I can't talk about it because it's classified, conjures up, oh, there it is. There's the cover-up. Can you give us any hint, without violating any sense of confidential nature, what kinds of things might be happening?
Sir, I cannot. Forgive me. I just do not know.
Is there anyone in the Air Force that can?
I'm going to have to defer that to public affairs. It's outside of my area of expertise. Forgive me, but it's just outside of my area of expertise.
Rule out that Area 51 is only human-made equipment and intelligence. Nothing.
Is that, do we call that leading the witness? Is that what we're, I'm sorry, I just don't know. Forgive me. It's just not an area that I have knowledge. Yes, ma'am.
Let me just go back one more time that you say this is case closed and people should now believe it, but with the major hole, though, of you're saying that they're wrong about the date, and the date being 6 years' time that they're wrong about. How can you, what explanation can you give them other than just saying, well, we just think they're just mistaken by 6 years?
Ma'am, I have no other explanation. I'm sorry. I have no other explanation. I'm looking at the facts as we have studied them, and I have no other explanation on that but what I've already given.
But how would
Yes,
that
sir.
make it case closed?
Because we've reviewed all the relevant information, and we have finished this, and we're not going to revisit it. And in fact, it's all unclassified. You have an opportunity on your own behalf. I recommend you get the report, start digging in, get on the web, see what you can find out.
Pentagon and think that it was necessary to respond now to this. Why did you have to come up with this report?
Well, we actually came up with the report because this is intriguing and fascinating research. You may have noticed this is also the 50th anniversary of the United States Air Force. You may have also concluded that we have been talking about other things about space and things of that nature, and this altitude balloon research is quite fascinating. But it was left in the dust. It's something we uncovered, and it's just kind of left in the dust of the space program. It wasn't romantic. Now you have men going up on the end of rockets, and here are guys jumping out of balloons. Kittinger, I believe, broke the speed of sound jumping out of that balloon. Can you imagine that? I mean, I can't imagine it. Yes, sir.
Is it possible that the Air Force could have missed something in its investigation? In other words, is it possible that there are unidentified flying objects, that there are extraterrestrial visits, and the Air Force simply has not found it or been able to detect it?
We have researched the Air Force projects and the Air Force information for these year groups. We have nothing else to say about them. You know, we don't believe there's anything else. I have no way of even vaguely believing there's anything else. I promised a gentleman right back here a question, sir, yes, sir.
Well, about 50 years ago today, a Air Force pilot spied a big array of saucers supposedly flying over Washington State. That may have started all this. Does the Air Force think it will never again investigate these reports? Is Project Blue Book was the end, and that's it?
You know, I don't ever want to speak for the Air Force about never again, but it's my opinion that they will not. Yes, sir.
Sir, from just a cursory examination of the report, it would appear that the Air Force compiled this information at the request of the GAO, at the request of the New Mexico congressperson, if I'm correct.
Now, that was report one, sir.
But even given then, even at that time, why then didn't the Air Force provide these very readily explanations for UFO activity when these questions first started being surfaced?
Right.
Oh, well.
Was there another part? Looks like there must be another part to it.
This is the final piece of the puzzle. But I don't think it's much of a puzzle at this stage, Paul.
I'm just eating a sandwich here, so hopefully you don't hear me.
Okay.
I'll probably need to go to the toilet in a minute too. Video. It's editing it on. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's a pain, that, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, this information was uncovered as we were preparing to publish that first book. We were actually looking for pictures. We had looked at all the information that surrounded 1947 and found absolutely nothing. But as we got into the out years, we realized that the Air Force had some other quite intriguing, I'll say it one more time, experiments that were going on that could be misconstrued. And that's why that was one of the reasons it was decided to publish the book. Yes, sir.
Did Captain McMaster or any of the other analysts come across any evidence that apart from the silver paper discs that went up with the high altitude balloons that the Air Force conducted during this rather wide time frame, any other aerodynamic experiments involving manned or unmanned craft that looked like flying saucers?
Well, you saw the payloads in the book. We saw them in the film. And I think those could easily be confused for that, too. And it is Captain McAndrew. So you'll get the... Yes, sir.
But sorry, just apart from those,
yes, sir,
going up on the balloon, were there any other Air Force experiments that you know of involving craft that looked like flying saucers?
No, sir.
Whatever the experiment.
Well, there were some other balloons, and there's some balloon shapes in here you might want to look at, too, that are very intriguing. In fact, they look a lot like some other people's pictures. Yes, sir.
We have time for one more question, and that's it.
I think she's going to deal with that question when I finish. One more question.
Do you believe in UFOs?
First one, no, sir.
Why not?
Ma'am, I have no reason to believe that they're real.
He's a
very much.
Thank you, sir.
And that's Colonel John Haynes' final word. He does not believe in UFOs after releasing what he hopes will be the final report on the so-called Roswell incident, which inspired many questions, a couple of which the colonel said was asked of him by his own granddaughter, inspired by the movie Independence Day, which evoked much laughter among the journalists covering today's story of this release of the report on the so-called Roswell incident. A fellow who knows much more about all of this is an investigative journalist by the name of Jim Mars, and author of the book Alien Agenda, who joined us on the line now. Jim, you heard what the colonel had to say. I assume you saw the video, the final word from the Pentagon. Once again, even after the 1994 report, is it didn't happen.
Sorry, mate. I don't like Jim, so I don't know about you.
I don't dislike him. I have no reasons to dislike him, but I think he's passed away now. But I don't agree with his opinions, if that's what you mean, yes.
I think he was more conspiracy and stuff that wasn't fact, it couldn't be established, It was more, he come across more like a Alex Jones to me than anyone. But yeah, that guy that's reading it out, I know I don't believe in flying saucers. It sort of comes across like a Mick West to me.
Do you buy that?
We didn't have any choice in
it's really incredible that they trot out some old footage from the late 50s and 60s, and just as the colonel himself said, he said, I don't know what they saw in 1947. And so again, this is hardly conducive to putting case closed on the front of their report. I have no question about the fact that the Air Force and other government agencies were testing things back in the 50s. There was the Avro car, the Flapjack, that were all saucer-shaped craft, none of which worked particularly well. This has all been well known and been rehashed years ago and put to rest. Now they're dredging it back up, adding dummies and saying this is probably what everybody saw. Well, all I can say is the only real dummies in this whole thing is anyone who would believe this lame story.
Tell us more, Jim, about why you're underwhelmed. You've investigated the situation of UFOs in the United States involving the Air Force. What did they see, or what did they say they see that this would not be that it would not be dispelled by the videotape that we just saw?
Well, it's really fascinating, as the colonel said, and he's probably speaking for the majority of people in the Air Force, and certainly at that news conference. He does not believe in UFOs, but I would point to Air Force documents prior to 1947 that stated that UFOs are real and tangible objects. This attitude only changed after July of 1947 and whatever crashed in the desert of New Mexico. 2 months later, President Truman created the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Security Council, which swept such issues as this away from Congress, the public, and the media, and they kept a very tight and strict secrecy over it right up till now. Unfortunately, even the news media does not seem to understand the background here, as evidenced by the reporter who, when asked, Area 51, is that Groom Lake? Well, of course it is, but he didn't know that.
You write in your book of documented government deceit and duplicity aided by the reluctance of conventional science to publicly address the evidence. Take government deceit, first of all. Why would the government want to cover this up?
Well, it's real simple and straightforward. To the military mind, and by all the government documents that's been released over the years, the military is in charge of this issue very firmly. And to the military mind, this represents advanced technology, which in turn represents potential weaponry. Therefore, it's got to be kept top secret, close to the chest, and nobody's supposed to know about it.
And conventional science, why would they be reluctant to publicly address what you say is evidence of extraterrestrial activity?
Well, what I found in my research for my book, Alien Agenda, is that the scientific community is intensely interested in UFOs and extraterrestrial life. There's been many serious scientific papers written about it. The problem is that beginning in 1947, with the government instituted a policy of dismissal and ridicule, and so many scientists are dependent upon government grants or university grants that are dependent upon government grants, that publicly they have been very, very hesitant to speak out about the possibility of UFOs or extraterrestrial life.
And you also mentioned the media. You blame the media to some extent. What did you make of all the chuckling going on by members of the press today?
Symptomatic of the media. They too have fallen prey to this whole policy of dismissal and ridicule. It's not as bad today because we've had all of this conditioning by movies and TV, the X-Files. You know, everybody's at least aware of the issue now, but they still laugh it off as if there's nothing there. But obviously they have not done their backgrounding and they have not studied. For instance, the UFOs are real. I can say that with absolute assurance because I too, for many years, accepted the idea that they might just be hallucinations or some sort of mass psychosis. But with the advent of the camcorder, everybody and their dog has a camcorder, and every week that goes by, there's somebody taking very credible video of a UFO, and you can't take a picture of an hallucination.
Before we get away here, Jim, I'm sure you might be aware of Air Force Colonel Richard Weaver's statement this morning. He's the fellow who wrote the 94 report on the Roswell incident. He was asked if he thought the new report will put this matter to rest. He said, "I doubt it. This has become a religion to many people. It's almost a cult, certainly an unbelievable financial opportunity for many folks. So I think this is going to endure." Are you being dismissed as a kook or a profit seeker by Colonel Weaver and others in the military?
Well, I don't know. Probably so, but I can assure you that I am not basing my opinions on just some preconceived idea or some religious impulse. This is the result of many years of study, and the facts are there for the people that want to know. And let me simply add that keep in mind that these people who are saying that nothing happened in New Mexico, it was just balloons and dummies, are the same folks that brought you the light at the end of the tunnel in Vietnam in 1968.
All right. Jim Marr, author of the book Alien Agenda, an investigative journalist. His specialty is extraterrestrial and UFO activity on this planet. And I'm sure we'll hear more about this story as we go throughout the day. Natalie, back to you.
Okay. So, Jim has he's correcting a lot of things there. You know, I just don't take his opinion. For the Nazi stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think the Nazis had anything in 1947
Oh,
that
he
could
had a lot
even
of
have got
conspiracy,
to.
old Jim Master, JFK and all
Yes,
that.
he did.
He sort of lost me with all the conspiracies in the
Oh,
end.
he lost me as well. He was just way out there, way out there. Yeah. Hold on, what's Wes saying here? Writing the people who witnessed the Roswell crash never found that the remnants of a balloon or perhaps you bang on, Wes. No, nothing like that was found. The only suspicious thing that they found among the debris there that I found like slightly suspect to be man-made was the I-beams. But why would an alien race use the same kind of I-beam structure that we use? Well, I don't know. But of course, these same I-beams had hieroglyphic-like writing on them, which was in a pink and purple kind of fluorescent thing. So yeah, I mean, the whole story is crazy.
Yeah, but the thing there with the pictures, though, he said these were in the 50s, wasn't it, or 60s? You know, the space capsule. It looks like a UFO coming down by parachute. It's not the same as what
Oh
they're
no,
experimenting
he's
with.
way off. No, I wasn't talking about that, Paul. No, he's way off. It's absolute 1,000 miles away from what actually happened.
Yeah, they weren't dropping space capsules with dummies in; they were dropping dummies without anything on them. You know. So yeah, it's not quite the same.
And I think someone else said that. Well, yeah, Ken has said. What the hell did he say that? It's covered for some reason. Yeah, never found the crash test alive. Test dummy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. I mean, exactly. All things are pathetic. Yeah, and actually, there's so many people out there that fell for this. You know.
Yeah.
You've only got to fool 80-90% of the population, and you've done your job. It might be a bad job, but you've still done your job. If you fool, maybe if you fool 60%, then you've still got most of the people on your side. Oh well. I just wish people would do a little bit more research and what can I do? I can't influence
so
everyone,
we must
can
be
I?
at the end of the Roswell thing by now, are we?
Yeah, sure.
Unless you got more witnesses to add to the list.
Oh my God! If I wanted to add to that, I could go on and on. But I don't.
We're coming up
I don't
to
think
3 hours, by the way.
Yeah, but okay. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a look at another case that happened in Argentina. This was just 1 year before the Virginia event, and there's another case tied in with this. So we'll have a look at that, and we can call it a day then, Paul, if you like.
Oh, here's the Texas cop. Was that the one? Let's have a quick look at that article there. Roswell UFO crash really happened, witness claims. Texas cop claims in a newly surfaced interview. Sheriff Jesse Slaughter and his deputy Charles Fogus, that's the one, heard police radio reports of a crash aircraft in July 1947. But it was Randall that looked into that and said he had the times wrong, dates wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul. But this case is a hoax.
This one here. What case are you talking about?
No. The people involved in this is a complete hoax. Look at the source first, start.
What source are we talking about?
If you're looking at Daily Mirror, mate. UK
No,
tabloid.
it went about all the UK rags as usual, just to get some clickbait,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But I think you'll find that Randall comes in at the end of this and tells it's all wrong, but it's not on this particular newspaper. But that's what the person I was trying to find. He said the dates, he couldn't have been the Roswell crash because he wasn't a sheriff back in 1947, and he's mixing up another crash that was later when he was in office.
Yeah, this is a thing now as well. You got Barney Barnett that said in New Mexico he came across a smashed up disc shaped object plus alien bodies. And he only told his wife and a couple of mates. He was a surveyor, and he was out in the desert doing whatever he was doing. I think he was looking for some irrigation stuff,
Yeah.
so he could plan a good site. Yeah, he came across these bodies, but it didn't match up with the dates for Roswell. So I don't know. If you type in different perspective, Paul.
Yeah, I have covered it in previous lives anyway. Go and watch some of the older ones. Different perspective, is it? Looks like my sugar levels are still dropping. I might have to go and get a sweet drink. Is that the one? No. Anyway, we have come across it before. But then about him saying he heard about the crash, but maybe there's been multiple crashes of UFOs, and he just remembers another one as another possibility. Or it could be total hoax, of course, maybe for publicity. So who knows? Yeah, I just can't find it. Was that the one? Daily UK. Let's have a look at that one. I know they did go and ask Randall for his opinion. New footage reels deputy said he saw. I think it was from the disclosure thing, was it? Does this come from Greer at all? Oh, damn. See, that's what the other browser doesn't have this problem. They don't detect it because it's built in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll give you an update now, Paul.
I hate this when they won't let you get to this site because of ad blocker.
There you go. Just use that, Paul.
But yeah, we got.
I think that'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that was on the picture on my thumbnail. That guy, was it? What was that guy's name? Charles. That's the cop.
Yeah, I'm just saying at this point he's not considered to be one of the best witnesses.
All right, but he was a new witness that came forward, so maybe we should read about it because that's what the episode was meant to be about. So where do we start on this?
Oh, it's Philip Mantle, the Yorkshire guy.
Yeah, Philip Mantle exposed it, wasn't it? It wasn't
In
Randall.
June 2017, I released the testimony of the late Deputy Sheriff Charles Fergus, who
Philip,
claimed
man.
that he had been a witness to the UFO crash at Roswell in
I got the wrong
1947.
guy.
He was the deputy sheriff in Big Springs, Texas after serving in the military during World War II.
What happened there?
Well, you stopped it.
No, because the picture interferes with the reader. It's not perfect.
Okay.
It's not perfect.
In brief, he claimed that he was en route to Roswell with the sheriff, Jess Slaughter, to pick up a prisoner. When approaching the Roswell area, they heard about the crash on the police radio and drove to the area in question. Once there, they observed the recovery of a 110-foot UFO and dead alien bodies before being told to leave the area. This testimony was given to a U.S. private investigator by the name of Deanna Short. Sadly, this lady had also passed away. There is a video interview of Mr. Fergus where he details these events. This testimony was investigated by myself and Irina Scott, Ph.D., the Mutual UFO Network. Dr. Scott revealed the full information in her book UFOs Today, 70 Years of Lies, Misinformation, and Government Cover-Up, and I published it in various UFO publications, and it was also featured in the online editions of several of the UK's national newspapers. One of the reasons for releasing the testimony of the late Charles Fergus was in the hope that either a family member of a friend might come forward with some further information. We knew this was a long shot, but there was no reason why we should not give it a try. It therefore came as a surprise that I was contacted via social media on July 17th by a nephew of the late Deputy Sheriff Fergus. He does not wish his name used in public, but I do have it on file. This is what the nephew had to say.
Okay, can we resume it? Okay, looks like it's not going to resume. Actually, it might do.
A different perspective.
No.
No.
It's lost its way.
See, that was the same crappy nonsense we had last week. So
yeah.
This
Hello,
is
I just discovered the video you posted.
Yeah, what are you going to say? It's working now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if it's working, I'll go for it.
Posted of the interview with C.H. Fergus. He was my uncle. Interestingly, he never spoke to us about this incident when I was young, and I only recently found out about the story from an East Coast MUFON investigator. I can tell you, he is not a person who would have fabricated this story. He was very straight-laced and no-nonsense type of person. That's why he was in law enforcement. I have the full transcript of the interview if you would like to read and post it. Thank you. Quite naturally I replied and informed the nephew that I already had the transcript in question, as it was me who had released it. He went on to add, one thing I will mention, my uncle's sighting was not at Roswell. He was a deputy in 1953. I have a very good MUFON report I will forward to you on the event. Again, I thanked him for this and I have the MUFON report in question. MUFON had researched the claims of Deputy Sheriff Fergus, and had speculated that he might have been witness to an event in 1953, and not 1947. One thing that is certain is that the sheriff he stated he was with at the time, Jess Slaughter, was not the sheriff in 1947. He was a sheriff in the 1930s, and the 1950s, but not the 1940s. The nephew supplied me with his email address, and he added to his comments on July 19th. I don't have any other pictures of him. He has a son, Glenn Lee Fergus, and a daughter Toma Fergus, but I haven't kept in touch with them. I know Glenn Lee lives in California, and he has 2 daughters as well. I found a phone listing a few months ago, and called Glenn Lee, and left a message, but never got a response. I would guess CH spoke to them, but I don't have any current contact information. We were not a close family. The only other person that might know the story is his nephew, Charles Busby in Big Spring, Texas. You might try and contact him. His mother was CH's sister. I would also believe he would have mentioned it to his brother, my father, but if you knew the Fergus family, and West Texans in particular, Uncle CH would have been roundly made fun of for sharing his experience. That's what assures me all the more that he is telling the truth. He was ex-military and ex-law enforcement, and was not the type of a person to make up a story like this. I knew him well and can tell you his personality was not one that liked or sought the spotlight. He was also not an imaginative person to create such a story. He was very straight-laced like all of the Fergus men and women for that matter. It was certainly a very different time, when they grew up and my father's family grew up very poor.
Okay, I'm back.
So they were extremely pragmatic and not ones for hyperbole. They believed only what they could see and hold. I hope this is of some help. The nephew has supplied me, Philip Mantle, with 2 contact numbers and addresses of these other family members, and I am in the process of contacting both of them as we speak. If I get a reply, I will of course let you know. Unfortunately, the nephew could shed no light on the claims made by his late uncle, but we feel vindicated in releasing this material, as we did, as it has brought this gentleman forward, who in turn has supplied the details of another 2 family members. Whether they will be able to offer any further information remains to be seen. Posted by K. Randall at 5:36 a.m. Labels, Charles.
Are you there, Robert?
Yeah, sure. It was in Ivina Scott's book, wasn't it?
I wasn't here to actually listen to it all, but did they actually debunk his timeline in this article? Because I think they did later on.
Well, only the timeline it debunked. The book is UFOs Today, 70 Years of Lies, Misinformation, and Government Cover-Up. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. But it doesn't fit the timeline. So I think we're talking about different events.
2 crashes.
Yeah, they're not that far apart, to be honest, are they?
Well, obviously something did happen, and he saw something, but he got timelines mixed up. Human memory is not the best. Eyewitness accounts. That's why the skeptics always dismiss them. Even if it's multiple eyewitness accounts.
Yeah.
And they always dismiss credible people idea because FBI have tested out that cops even make mistakes. So.
Okay, Bob, but the only thing I'll suggest there is, I mean, Jesus, if you have any kind of major event, in your life, you're going to remember. You are. I mean, I'm 54 now. I was in a car crash in 1991, and I know it was August. Yeah, I haven't forgotten that, and I don't think I'll be forgetting it anytime soon either. My parents and grandparents all served in the war. They all know the times and dates of when anything significant happened. But going back to that John Haynes press release, well, I'm trying to cast doubt on the witnesses. No, I don't feel that's the case. No, I think you would recall those events with a decent amount of accuracy, at least, yeah. But not several years out like that.
Yeah, but I think the debunk was that he wasn't a deputy back in 47, so how could he have been to a crash site? Because he wasn't a cop then,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and once that doesn't add up, then you're in a troubling situation then, Paul. where, you know, can you believe the rest of the story? Can you just put it in the bin? No.
Did he make lots of
I
money
don't
from
think
it?
so, but not to my knowledge, no. So there was lots of this is another disturbing factor with Roswell. You know, when the investigation was really launched, and it all started down in 1978, when Stanton Friedman talked to Jesse Marcel. They interviewed a whole host of witnesses after that date throughout the 80s. Bill Moore, Kevin Randall. There was several other. Don Smith was another one. Thomas Carey was another one that interviewed these witnesses, and they found a disturbing pattern in what the witnesses were saying. And they were saying, don't believe him, believe me. Don't believe her, believe me. And they got quite disillusioned about that, you know. Oh, look, they're full of it. But you can believe me. And then they'd go to the other witness and they'd say the same thing backwards. You see what I mean? See where I'm coming from? So, I mean, so then you're in a situation where, oh my God, who the hell do I believe? So, of course, by the time the story broke in 1978, which is obviously 3 decades after the event, a lot of these people have passed away, and as Stanton said, we're kind of we're fighting a battle here against the Undertaker, you know, to find the original witnesses. But it seemed it was more the second-hand and third-hand witnesses that seemed to be the most vindictive of who to believe and who not to believe, you know.
Yep.
Which is sad, but it is what it is.
So where's this crash occurring in Argentina? I was looking for a city.
Salta.
Is it called Salta? Or was it the person that saw it?
Oh no! Oh, is that person? Is that one of the witnesses? Oh Jesus! Because I don't know much about this case myself, Paul. Won't even round here. Won't even round here. I've got no idea.
Salta, see if it comes up with a place name.
This is new to me. Someone brought it to my attention.
All right. Salta. Yep, seems to be a city.
Mm-hmm.
It's in between hills. Very rocky. Very, very rocky. Right on the coast there.
Yeah, have you got it now? I've posted again.
Yeah, I got it. I just finding the location where it's going to crash. And it certainly looks like a good place to crash. What's all that stuff there? Burials, old rocky desert places. Look at that major fault line running there. Well, definitely a good place to crash if you're going to crash somewhere. You wouldn't want to crash on this rocky stuff here. So let's read it out, I guess. Let's see. Reader from the beginning. See what happens.
UFO crash in Argentina. The 1995 Salta case. First published, October 29th, 2018. Last updated, February 9th, 2019. Written by Marcus Loth. Estimated reading time, 6 minutes. Posted in UFOs. 1 comment. An apparent crash of a silver, metallic disc-like object in the summer of 1995 in Argentina was witnessed by dozens of people, including a civil aviation pilot, who would take to the skies on several search and locate missions of his own accord in the aftermath of the incident. Although he wouldn't manage to locate the craft itself, his findings, and the dark events that followed were certainly of interest to someone. Such interest, in fact, that many researchers who would take to examine the case over the years that followed would highlight how it had all the hallmarks of a shadow government case. Essentially, an indication of some kind of alien-human agreement. Equally as intriguing, and perhaps suggesting a link of some kind, was a similar encounter over Argentina several weeks earlier. Although this craft didn't land or crash to the ground, it would cause a near-miss incident with an incoming plane at Bariloche Airport. And what's more, it was another encounter that was witnessed by more than one person. Might these incidents suggest some involvement of the Argentine government in UFO affairs? And if so, are they working independently of such governments as the United States? Or might it be that dark political and military elements of each and every country, with whatever respective vested interests, contribute to and make up the shadow government that keep the UFO and alien question, as well as a great many other elements of society, if the conspiracies are to be believed, controlled and strictly under wraps? Before we move on, check out the short video below, in Spanish. It features the footage of Antonio Zaletta, who, although not featured in what follows, would work with the main witness to the following encounter in the subsequent investigations that went ahead. Contents: a sort of flying saucer screaming out of the sky. Crash site on the... What's coming down? A connection with the Bariloche in... A sort of flying saucer screaming out of the sky. While having lunch at around 1:45 p.m. on the sunny afternoon of August 17, 1995, Tony Galvano would witness a sort of flying saucer of a bright metallic color come screaming out of the brilliant blue skies over the Serrania, Colorado region of Joaquin V. Gonzalez. As the object passed over the small community, many of whom were now also watching, it was followed by two other objects, probably missiles, which would impact against it. The craft then suddenly began to fail and fell to the ground shortly after. A second or so later, a powerful explosion filled the air, followed by intense seismic movement. According to the witness, the aftershock of this seismic activity would be felt almost 200 miles away. Indeed, reports would suggest residents in towns as far away as Gaona, El Quebracho, and El Galpin would notice the sudden rumbling activity. Something just short of panic soon swept through the small communities. Then, shocked residents of the area would witness a column of thick, black smoke rising into the cloudless sky. Galvano would later state that he'd never seen anything like it, and that it was most definitely a solid craft. While many of the residents would run towards the scene in order to get a better look, Galvano would run towards the nearby airstrip. He would jump into his Flystar airplane, taking off and into the air shortly after, and went to investigate. However, due to the thick, dense smoke, he couldn't locate the downed craft. After several rounds of the area, all through the hazardous smoke, he returned to the airstrip. Staying up any further would be dangerous flying. And besides, Galvano wished to see what might be happening on the ground. It turned out, in discussion terms at least, there was plenty. Crash site on the Esplanade? According to Gal...
Yeah. The thing is with the South American link, it's there's no reporting network there. There's very few researchers. A lot of these things kind of have just passed by, but that is quite an interesting account. And but this is just 1 year before the Virginia incident, and there was also another unusual event, which I think is explained at the bottom of this page, as long as I've given you the right web page, that is. But yeah, I know a lot of people, and I can understand why, because of the kind of religious, superstitious nature of the the South American people with their Spanish Catholic background. I can understand why people are a little bit skeptical about reports that come from that area, but I think we'd be throwing the baby out with the bathwater if we didn't at least have a decent look at them as best we can.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just wonder why Shelley was late. That's all.
Yeah, Shelley talking about her personal business, probably not good on the UFO channel.
Well, she lost partner lost her phone, which is not a good thing. And normally you have to set up that if it's on Google Google Play, you can tell it to erase the data remotely, so no one can get all your passwords. And same with iPhone, has something similar. But yeah, you want us to carry on?
Yeah, just.
To Galvano, local radio broadcasts would relay account after account from local residents who had witnessed the mysterious object, apparently intentionally brought down to the ground. All expressed the same confusion at just what the object was, as well as a demand from the authorities for answers and assurance. Galvano would organize a search of the area with other concerned residents. However, despite covering large expanses of terrain, they could not locate anything resembling what had crashed out of the sky earlier that afternoon. 2 days later, though, Galvano would take to the skies again.
You should draw a picture.
This time, his journey would be much more fruitful than that on the day of the crash. Below him was an esplanade with what appeared to be an impact print around 3 miles long and 600 meters across. It was obvious to Galvano that the area had undergone some form of intense friction heat by a giant, heavy object. As he brought the plane down a little lower, he could clearly see the trees that had previously resided within the impact area tossed to one side or another, completely ripped and torn from the ground. Even stranger, they had bizarre markings as if they had been sprayed with acid. Suddenly, the aircraft began to lose altitude, its engine sputtering and ready to give out. Realizing the plane was not going to make it anywhere close to an airstrip, he prepared for an emergency landing. Despite being battered from the impact, he was largely uninjured and able to walk away from his usually reliable plane. As he walked away from his aircraft and around the apparent previous crash site, he bent down to pick up some of the dirt below. It would prove to be, perhaps, proof of something untoward. What's coming down is very heavy. He would state later this: he had never seen anything like the strange dust he now held in his hand. Specialists at the University of La Plata would conduct analysis. Results would indicate that it contained 98% potassium, with the remaining 2% unknown material. According to the results, this substance level is not found anywhere on Earth. Despite these results, further searches of the area wouldn't yield any further interesting finds. Then, just over 2 weeks later, another strange encounter would unfold. While he and
normally bang on, normally. Yeah, so it's getting a bit spooky at this stage, isn't it? When you actually hear his witness testimony, I think it's at the bottom of this page. The guy sounds really confused about what happened.
Yep.
I don't know. I wasn't there, but you just kind of reading between the lines. It's an interesting case, and I'm not really sure how it's passed me by, to be honest. Okay. Results would indicate that it contained 98 potassium and the remaining 2% unknown material. Okay, that doesn't say a hell of a lot, 2% unknown material. I mean, we don't know where it's been tested, how vigorously it had been tested.
Or meteorite fragment or whatever.
Exactly, Paul. Yeah, and that's maybe just what it was. But yeah.
So 2 jets shoot down this UFO-like object. So I don't know if we got any pictures on it. Maybe you have to do more research on it to find out if there's any pictures. So it doesn't look like there's any drawings or anything there. So we'll just carry on.
While he and several other volunteer searchers from the local community were trawling through the woodland and jungle areas, several heavily armed individuals arrived in black suits and traveling in black heavy-duty 4x4 vehicles. They would inform the volunteer group that they were now taking over the searches, and that they should go home. After that, they would refuse to talk with the group, or allow them to roam freely in the area in their presence. Galvano claims the last thing one of these strange men in black said to him was that he should forget it. What's coming down is very heavy. It was a sentence that remained in Galvano's mind like letters of fire. Furthermore, he would begin to receive strange phone calls, always with a very definite presence on the other end. However, it would greet him with nothing but a chilling and menacing silence. These calls would almost always come late, or in the middle of the night. After so long, Galvano was sufficiently spooked that he would physically leave the area for several years. The men in black, according to local accounts that would find their way back to Galvano, would remain in the area for several years. However, shortly after their presence diminished, Galvano would return, looking to investigate the incident further. A connection with the Bariloche incident? Unbeknown to Galvano and the other witnesses to the Salta case was a similar incident just under a fortnight earlier in the early hours of the August 2nd. And furthermore, multiple people would witness it. As an aircraft was approaching Bariloche Airport in the foothills of the Andes mountain range, a bright, white flying saucer would suddenly approach the incoming plane at a very high speed, defying the laws of physics. The pilot would quickly move his plane off course in a successful bid to avoid a sure collision. As well as the pilots on the plane, several people on the ground saw the aerial altercation.
Yeah.
These would include members of the Argentine military. Furthermore, while this strange bright craft was flying over the airport, the computer and power systems went crazy. Further still, a widespread power outage hit the vast majority of the city. Suddenly, the strange craft was directly in front of the plane, this time hovering. Once more, the pilot turned to avoid a collision. Only this time, the mysterious craft turned with it, flying alongside it for several moments. As it did so, 2 green lights appeared at either end of the object. An orange light would connect the two in the center. As the plane came into land, the UFO initially followed until around 3,000 feet. At this point it rose at supernatural speed, and vanished out of sight. Might there be a connection between the two cases? One alleged sighting, one apparent purposefully caused crash. The 2-week window is certainly interesting enough, as is the apparent intense military and men in black interest in at least the first encounter.
It's about time they captured
You can
these
check out
men
the
in
short
black
video
on
below
video.
which looks at the Bariloche incident a little more. Disclaimer.
That's it.
The story.
Yeah, there we go. But I don't know if you can play this because I think it's quite.
It looks like unsolved mysteries again.
Oh no!
Let's have a look.
I don't want you to risk anything, you know.
Yeah, it kind of looks suspect, doesn't it?
Yeah, can't
so I
you
wish
bypass the music? Oh, well,
I can't see anything badges on it, but it looks like an old video. Didn't they say it was in foreign language though? Let's just move it forward a bit.
Carolinas, Argentina.
Oh, what's that? Sound like Robert Stack? Yeah, unfortunately, we can't even play the video.
No.
Or the interview without causing a lot of problem for ourselves, even though it's fair use. It's a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah, it's a shame because the guy came over as let me describe his emotions: confused, perplexed, and kind of wanted some vindication and explanation. All those things rolled into one. You know, this guy was not happy, Benny.
No.
And he went on to become convinced that whatever happened was not terrestrial. And it's also a shame that in you know that part of the world that there's no good reporting network. Now, I'm not going to say that MUFON is particularly good either in the United States, but my God, it's a whole lot better than what anything they've got there, you know. And I think there's been many good cases there in that. Yeah. And we just don't get to hear about them as much. I mean, look at Africa. For a start, you telling me there's never been any events in Africa? Of course there have. They just don't see the light of day. I mean, who'd you phone in Africa? You know, if you see a UFO. I don't know. South Africa, Zimbabwe, maybe. They've got a couple of MUFON people there. But not too many. They've got a small amount of people covering a very large amount of ground. Do you know? It just can't be done. I mean, especially if you had like a flap, where there could be like several hundred sightings in the space of a month. You know, how's one guy or two guys or even 20 guys going to cover that? It's impossible, isn't it? It's a shame. Anyway, rant's over.
Let's have it. Rant. Robert's rant is over. So basically, this thing's talking about what we already heard anyway. Talking about the power grid. I think Contact 2019 did this one as well, didn't they? It was probably one of the more credible things they looked at on the show. That and Mark Antonia's one with the USO when he was in the submarine, which was going faster than a torpedo or the fastest object that can get underwater. So yeah. So that's the end of it then. Is there any other links to that one? Or is that it?
No. I, as I said, Paul, I was quite new to this case, so I'll have to do some further digging on it. You know.
What's that one there? Right, that's the one in Spanish.
El avistamiento de naves
You're not going to make no
extraterrestres en el
sense out of
territorio
that.
de Cachi.
No, but we can skim through the pictures. So let's just have a look at what we're looking at here. Spud cam.
Es permanente.
I don't know what it is. It's blurry. Could be a bird or anything, couldn't it? CGI. So that's it. I suppose that's nothing related to this crash thing, though. There's just various videos of stuff they filmed. You see, it's always on this angle as well, not hovering straight, which kind of suggests it's something natural that they're capturing, like a bird coming down or a bug close to the camera. You can see it looks like it could be a bird, you know, The beak here is just at low graphics quality on the camera. See that one there, it's deforming. Probably just a bird diving down. And it's a faraway shot there too.
Shelley, just saying here down the side shot. Now there's probably, I think what you said, there's large areas in the States they can't cover. The MUFON aren't giving a great deal of support, to the chapters, as I believe the terminology is there in the States. So how can you expect people to go and investigate these cases with their own money? And now, of course, we're in lockdown. I would imagine there'll be I don't know. Some people saying sightings are up, but that's all over the phone. No one's going out to investigate them because they can't. We're in lockdown. It's non-essential. Blah blah. But yeah, the whole network, it just isn't supported like it should be. But hopefully this will evolve and we'll get there in the end. Hopefully by the time we expire. I don't know. Hey, before we go, Paul, did you want to have a look at that video that my mate sent me last night? Because this is your department, not mine. I'm
I thought you
staying out
didn't
of
want
this
to
one.
put debunks on your UFO cases.
On my UFO cases?
Yeah,
What?
on your Sunday cases. You don't separate debunks from storytelling or whatever.
No, please. I'd love to know. So I don't know what it is. I'm not sure.
I know Third Phase of the Moon put out some garbage. What was it I posted on my Twitter account? What was it now? I'll get us a link then. We'll have a quick look. UFO Man, fraud. Is Charles with us still? Is he gone to bed? Here we go. What did they post on Twitter? I can't remember it now. I was tired. I keep getting more and more subs on Twitter, but not more and more followers on actual videos. I think people watch it embedded afterwards, maybe, but... what did they put on Third Face? Oh, this one here. Was it? No, that's the one.
No, I'm not talking about Third Phase. I'm talking about the video that my mate sent me, who absolutely swears that he's seen this thing.
Yeah, you need to be getting the link, aren't you? But I'm just talking about Third Phase where you're getting information. So they're talking about this.
But I sent you the link last night.
Oh, I haven't got it handy.
Oh, no. Okay, we'll have to leave that for another day then. Because I did send it to you and I thought you'd have kept it. But
you were meant to find out the day and time so you could plug it into Plane Finder.
I know the time and location now.
Well, I said it was possibly a plane contrail, which had got some crosswinds on it, so it wasn't a nice straight contrail. It was sort of bent a wee bit in places. But Third Face put out this one that NASA covering up again. NASA can't explain.
It can still be done.
Yeah, but apparently there's a laser beam here in space, and I did some quick research to see if there's any satellites that use lasers. And there's tons of experiments in space where they're using lasers. NASA captures something from the ISS that can't be explained. Well, they were experimenting with shining a laser down to Earth to transmit data. It was one of the experiments. So whether it was that, I don't know. But I got a link here to satellites that use lasers. You could just search it. So this is the garbage out on Third Phase at the moment. Instead of just doing research on it, they just put it out there. Is NASA covering up? NASA uses lasers. ISS. You probably find a heap of experiments. There you go. Straight up, straight away. High-powered laser light projection system primarily used at Kennedy Space Center. Looks similar to the video there, except for it's a different color. Optical communication using lasers, beams. There you go. So there's lots of information there, but third phase don't bother looking up like I do. I think that might have been the article that was. Oh, that's the satellite I've debunked on my live stream almost. It looks almost like the same one, isn't it? Comsat K1 and K2 using laser beams. Call them CubeSats. So lasers, lots of things NASA uses with lasers to measure ice in the atmosphere and all sorts. Lasers in space.
Paul.
What? What's
Stop
Robert?
Putting people to sleep.
We're closing down now, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
But
I thought we
I'd
just
add
finished.
this.
I just thought we'd finish with this.
Well, there's one using lasers to talk between satellites. I'm not sure if SpaceX uses lasers.
Yeah.
Makes sense to fiber optics in space, but just have a laser beam. Anyway, there's plenty of research using lasers, is what I'm saying. Third phase are just idiots, and people watch them.
This is an interesting little video I found, Paul. It's quite elderly. Hynek.
Right. Man, it's gone slow. This one here, NASA. So they haven't put out anything else. So you want me to look at something else? So what was your mate's sighting date and time?
Oh Jesus, yeah, but I don't want to do that now until you've got all the information, okay?
Well, you just asked me to look at it, and now you don't want us to look at it.
That's no. This is a Hynek old interview that's hard to find. Oh, silly
Is it
thing going on there.
copyrighted?
Oh, hope not.
You don't know where the interview's from. That's the only thing. Does it say?
Yeah, but I mean, look, there's only. Yeah, that's not a TV show.
Well, you don't know.
Would like you to just comment on your worldview or your view of the interpretation of the UFO phenomenon, which was prevalent in the old days, that it was an extraterrestrial investigation of Mother Earth from outside this planet, directed and elusive, but still sort of a purposeful investigation, the ET hypothesis, you may call it. Would you make some comments on where we stand today relative to that relative?
Yeah, I'd like to just start from the history of science standpoint, that any culture will tend to interpret any new phenomenon in terms of its own technology. Had this all occurred in Middle Ages, it would have been given a totally different interpretation, it would have been a religious interpretation. Which it was at that time. We've entered the space age, therefore it is very logical for a new phenomenon of this sort to be interpreted in terms of our own advanced technology. It's also complicated by the fact that astronomy has arrived at the point, we know enough now about the evolution of stars, to make it extremely likely that there are many other intelligences in the universe. But there, I think we have to follow Arthur C. Clarke in pointing out that we take perhaps a much too narrow view of what intelligence in the universe may be. We live on a water planet. It's very logical, therefore, that our bodies are mostly water. It could be that our consciousness expresses itself through protoplasm and through our particular chemistry. There are bits of information today indicating that, for instance, George Wald at Harvard feels that consciousness is the most important factor, and that consciousness can exist in many forms. We are one of those forms. So, as somebody said, the whole question of this trying to communicate with life elsewhere is like the not yet born talking to the long since dead, because it takes so long for anything to get. Furthermore, an advanced civilization might regard radio as we regard jungle drums or smoke signals. They may long since have passed the radio stage of communication. But still, I think it's important that the SETI program continue, because it's an adventure and it should be done. And it would be philosophically important to find out that there is some intelligence elsewhere. So, all that my own philosophical feeling about the UFO phenomenon is that when all is said and done, it represents some form of intelligence. But whether that intelligence is from great distances away, or whether it is perhaps much closer to us in a parallel reality or in another dimension, or whether it is in some strange way a product of our own intelligence, our own psyche, I don't know. This is the research problem. That it seems to be programmed, that it seems to have an intelligence of its own, I think is unmistakable. If anyone who studies the subject just sees that. But we must not jump to the conclusion that because it has an intelligence of its own, it is necessarily visitors from outer space. It may be in some strange way connected with that intelligence, if that intelligence can in some way project itself down here. But, well, that's really all I have to say. That's it.
Good, thank you.
That's so bad.
Har dere noen tilleggsspørsmål til det der?
Yeah.
I tell you what, Paul, it's difficult to find stuff like that, and I know it was only 4 minutes long or so, but it's a little gem, isn't it? You know, and it's down the sideline for anybody to look at again.
So he's researched it for how many years?
I'd love to have met the man.
How many years did you research UFOs, though? Hynek.
Oh, Hynek.
50 years. From the age of 30.
Well, we know now for a fact. I think he died in 86, didn't he? And Blue Book finished in 69. He was working on the proximity fuse and satellite tracking during and slightly after the Second World War. Well, certainly with satellite tracking anyway.
So, how many years you saying? 30 years of UFOs? 69, 70.
Yeah, well, at least
no.
Because until
17
around
years.
about. No, probably he ended his life still believing that UFOs.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, how many years has he been looking at UFOs and he hasn't got a clue what they are?
That's what I was trying to. Oh, I see, and now I'm.
You see what I mean?
No.
If he's been doing it for 30 years and he still can't explain them, whether they're interdimensional, from space or under the sea.
My apologies, Paul. I thought you were trying to say how long was he in the business, because he was in the business from 1947 all the way through to his death in 1986, so that would have been 4 decades. But yeah. No, and he still couldn't work it out. This is the thing, and damn, it's a shame because someone with such a an interesting mind, yeah, that died without knowing. This is one spiteful thing that Philip Glass said on his deathbed. He said this: "The UFO researcher will go to his death knowing no more than when he started." And you know what? That horrible bastard could have been well right.
Maybe all knowledge is available when you die. But anyway,
do you know something? I'll just say one last thing, and we'll wrap up. But if I was to go to my maker and he gave me all the answers, I'd be gutted. I'd be gutted. I don't want all the answers.
If they've been covering it up for all that time, all the information that could have benefited mankind in that time, if we could trade knowledge, especially if you could go on their craft, even though they won't allow you to duplicate it, they could take you to other places to repopulate or whatever. Because humans, to survive, will have to get off planet Earth, because eventually it's going to blow up here.
Yeah, and then even if some intelligence does tell you all the answers, are you going to trust it?
Well, they probably don't know all the answers. I don't think anybody would know all the answers of what life is and what the universe is. You just go mad if you try to figure it out. But the key point I'm trying to make here is you want to know that you're not the only intelligent species in the whole universe. And if we are, it's kind of very sad to think we've got all the stuff in the universe and we're the only ones in it. Which doesn't make sense whatsoever,
There's no doubt we're being engaged by another intelligence that's not related to humans in my opinion. But if there's another intelligence and we don't know what it is, then by its very nature, it's alien, isn't it?
So I better wrap up, I suppose. We got up to 3.5 hours. Thanks for staying and watching. I think we had like 100 people pass by according to the stats, and so we ended up with double figures there at some stage. 11, I think, watching, commenting, and liking. Oh. So, better let these people get to bed, or whatever it is over there at the moment. Alright, should tell me here, shouldn't it? So what is the times around the place? Yeah, it's getting slow. Sure, I clicked it. I did.
Well, I was asleep for the first 90 minutes of that, I think.
You mean waking up?
Oh, Jesus, yeah, waking up, yeah.
Well, how about me? I had like 5 hours sleep or less. So it's coming up to 7:30 p.m. in Texas. That's early yet.
Yeah, but just before we go, like, has had a belly full of Roswell after tonight. Please leave a comment later because I've got plenty of stuff on Roswell if you want to take a deeper dive. Thanks, Wes.
I thought maybe you had a few guests coming on to talk about Roswell, but yeah, I did invite Earl Grey along. But yeah, unless you pencil in a set date and time, these people don't bother showing up. But we never get anyone on our show anyway, because we're not big enough to be taken seriously, I guess, or in the know. But,
I don't know. You only got to do a simple Google search for the channel now, and it comes up, in the top.
Yeah, we're always moving upwards in the ranks.
Yeah.
But,
come on. Yeah.
We're still the most hated UFO channel. Come on. Haters, Anyway, better wind it down.
Okay.
I should do the promo for Core Bell just to make us a little chuckle here.
Okay.
For people to donate or whatever, or join our Facebook groups, because I'm not sure if Susan posted it around lately.
Hey UFO peeps, this is Corbell, the greatest UFO filmmaker of all time. Hey UFO peeps, this is Corbell, the greatest UFO filmmaker of all time. Hey UFO peeps, this is Corbell, the greatest UFO filmmaker of all time. Since filming with Bob Lazar, I have had to change my identity to Jimmy L. Dummel. You can call me Dumb for short. I did this super great movie called The Skinwalker. But really it was 99% Nap's work repackage. Hey. Anyhow, I just have to shameless plug the best UFO channel on the web, the Out There channel. So show him some support. Just simply giving a thumbs up for a like on today's show helps a lot, in posting comments on videos and watching some of the older videos. And if you're loaded with cash and like to help cover costs and buy new gear to keep the channel going, I show you how to find the links now. Visit his About tab. There you can find his direct PayPal for one-off payments, or his Patreon to be a monthly supporter from as low as $1. And if you like his cool logos and funny artwork on a tee or hoodie, there's a Merc link. I love that back graphic for Black Ops logo, recently added. Also watch out, a moderator in the side chat will post some quick links for you and other useful stuff from time to time during the live events. See ya later, UFO and alien fans. Dumpty do dumpty pay.
Oh, what did that glitch there? Yeah, so I'll just wind down the end credits now too. Thanks guys, I'll catch you again whenever I do next live show. Who knows, we've got lots to do still, so it may not be a midweek one like I've been doing, but we'll see how I feel. So definitely next weekend we carry on. So just make that big. So that's my Merc channel there. Probably should add some more designs in it. I think Susan was thinking of adding something there of her own design, so it'll be interesting to see what she comes up with. But we got Earl Grey's one there, got some ones I've made up, and some other stuff with Charlie on it, which I've yet to print that one off so I can wear it at the dog park. Where it's got his picture on there, but he's been a bit crooked today. He's got something going on his ear again. But yeah, the Black Ops badge is here, which is on now. You can get it on the back of the hoodie. So you just missed out on that, Rob. But maybe the next one you can get that. Hey, I will see if I can get enough cash flow coming in to actually give some vouchers away again at some point. It's expensive though, 44 US dollars.
Send them on to Suzanne.
Sorry?
You should be sending one to Suzanne.
Yeah, but I haven't got money. People throwing money at me left, right, and centre to be able to cover that at the moment. I need a new laptop. I need licenses to keep covering. There's lots of stuff. It's a lot of outgoings. Yeah, if I was rolling dough like some fraud channels, then I could do that. Anyway, catch you guys later. Good night, Susan. Good night, Snipes, Shelly, Charles. Who else was with us? Was Dal there? I did see Dal tonight.
Dal's mate.
There was Ken and Michael, was it? I'm not sure if we've seen him
Ken
before.
Michael there. Yeah. Shame not to see Zach and some of the other older ones, but there we go.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just end the stream now.